I know it's hard sometimes to give me love, 'cause I get caught up in my ways, never good enough. There seem to be no cure for all my insecurities. Maybe I'm just a product of today's society. If there was one thing that I could say, said I'm here for you anyway. If there was one thing that I could do, and it's to keep on loving you, loving you. I know it's been much lately to be with me. I understand you're all bruised up for repeating things. When will I finally change my mind? Always the same stories. 'Cause the least I ever wanted was to hurt you. I'm sorry. If there was one thing that I could say, said I'm here for you anyway. If there was one thing that I could do, and it's to keep on loving you, loving you. Loving you, keep on loving you, and it's to keep on loving you, loving you.
And the green flag drops and we are underway. Good evening, ladies, gentlefolk, boys and girls, and welcome back to the Positive Perception YouTube channel for what is the dawn of a new season here for the Positive Perception GT3 Championship and the GT4 Championship, which is very much on the horizon as well. You will notice, for those eagle-eyed of you, we are at the iconic Jewel of the Italian Crown, Imola, for this evening, for what we are commonly referring to as a little pre-season gathering, a social, if you will. A multi-class race, 70 minutes is the tour of the Autodromo Imola circuit this evening. And it's a multi-class affair as well, so we've got both GT3 and GT4 cars on the grid for this one. So looking forward to the eventualities and the action that we're going to be blessed with this evening. As always, my name is David Wrestle. I'll be looking after the stream for this evening, hopefully bringing you all the action via the multitude of cameras that we have available. However, I'm also joined by a new face in the commentary box this evening. Alex Newman, good evening to you, fine sir. It's lovely to have you. Welcome along. How's things?
Hello. It's all good here, apart from the camera system.
Yes, we have been talking about our technical difficulties before the stream has gone live, which is always good fun. Look, we don't normally do a pre-season social, so it's a good thing, I suppose, to give you and I the chance to practice a few bits. We've got a few extra little things that we're going to be trying in the background this evening. Nothing that will significantly change the life of the viewer, but it will make our lives a little bit easier, I hope. But it does give the guys a chance to road test the car they might be going with for the seasons up ahead. It might give them a chance to maybe try something different, kind of get used to some new people on track. It's a good thing to do. It feels like a shakedown, doesn't it, for want of a better phrase?
Humongous grid tonight as well, which is amazing to see.
Absolutely. I can see, look, straight away within 30 seconds of us going live, you've got viewers in the chat. Is it OG Sipes? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It says hi, Alex.
Okay. He is the community manager of my team I run, ABR Racing. So I don't know how he's got that, but hello, Icy.
Lovely stuff. Well, look, I'm tell you what, we're going to jump straight into the server itself because the qualifying is very much underway. As I was saying before, slightly different setup for this evening. So we've got a multi-class affair because obviously we've got for those of you who don't know, let's go back to the roots a little bit. For those of you who don't know, we run both a GT3 and a GT4 season on alternating Thursdays. So the GT3 season number 8 starts next week. Still a few spaces on the grid if you want to get involved. And the GT4 season starts the week after that. So it's the 29th of June, and I want to say the 6th of July, I think, are the start dates for both of those. So this gives people a chance to try whichever car for potentially what they're looking to get into. But what we're doing is, first 15 minutes of qualifying is for the GT4s. As soon as we hit the 15-minute mark, the GT3s, the big beasts, will come out. They'll hopefully not get in the way of the GT3s that are GT4s that are going around. So we'll have a nice little split qualifying. And I think, Alex, I'm sure you agree, that makes life a little bit easier for everyone, doesn't it? Because it means that no one's having to kind of trip over each other. At least you've got that time to be on track with cars that you know are a similar speed, irrespective of potential discrepancies in skill level.
What's more fortunate for the GT3s is that there's not many GT4s participating in this race, so it gives a better chance for a better qualifying lap.
It's a very good point. I mean, it does mean that the GT3 side of things is going to be very busy, doesn't it? I mean, I'm counting the GT4s. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 I count at the moment. We might have a few more. I think we topped out 12 on the sign-up list. I mean, it is one of those where I suppose it is, dare I say, the lesser spotted car on the grid nowadays, the GT4, which is a bit of a shame. But Hosper grew from multi-class racing. It was one of the first and one of the only ones who really kind of continued down that road. And we got some brilliant results out of it as well. So it's great to see everyone getting back involved for this one. But you are right, it does mean it's quieter for the race, but there still means there's 24, 21, 24, something like that, GT3 cars in the qualifying session. So it's going to be a busy one for that last 15 minutes.
Especially for the race when it comes to probably the first 10 minutes when the GT3s first go through traffic.
Absolutely, it's going to be a spicy one, and I think this is exactly why I wanted to do it, because these kind of events always bring out the fun side of things, I think, and it is going to take not only someone who's got the pace over the one lap to get a good lap in qualifying, it's going to take someone to get a good consistency in the race, and like you've rightly pointed out there, be able to avoid the traffic as much as they can. It's not necessarily, I mean, look, it's impossible to avoid a GT4 and you're a GT3. If you don't lap a GT4 car in a 70-minute race, you've done something wrong. But it is very much about just managing that traffic, isn't it? It's not just getting there as fast as you can. You kind of need to try and manage it a bit more efficiently, don't you, when it comes to overtaking these slower cars.
In this race, the GT4s probably have the harder job for being more predictable on track. That I know I've seen a few races, I'm not going to name the communities obviously, but there are interesting ways of being predictable.
There is. I think it's one of those. I think again, we're not going to name anyone, and I'm not digging anyone out by saying this, but I think I've found that when I've done both, so I've been on both sides of it. I've been in GT4s and I've been in GT3s in multi-class as well. I feel like there's never that consistency is there across every community instilling it in the same way. I think the general consensus should be you do it how they do it in the real world. The GT4 is predictable, they keep their racing line. It is up to the GT3 car to find their way around in a safe and kind of sensible way. Doesn't always happen like that, and I'm sure that it's always the way. I'm sure we'll see some rather dicey moves from the GT3 cars in the race, and I'm sure you'll agree, but hopefully won't see too many of them, and hopefully we'll just see a nice clean race for everyone. You can see Jimbo Jet in the chat. He's one of the GT4s who wasn't able to attend, unfortunately. Wife pressures, I know the feeling. I have to book these sessions in well in advance, so I know how you feel. But no, you're right though, 6 GT4s, that makes what, 22 GT3s. So it does mean slightly less of a worry for the GT4s, but still going to be an interesting one. I have no doubt whatsoever.
It's just going to be an interesting one.
Absolutely.
Especially going into the first corner.
100%, and I think that's one of those where this is one of those tracks, isn't it, where you see Rich Pixley there just going a little bit wide in that Alpine number 7 car. It is a tough one, isn't it, because the first couple of corners really at Imola, they're quite fiddly at the best of times. It means that when naturally things do tend to close up, and it's quite a long start-finish straight at the start of the lap, isn't it, as well, you have to consider, is the fact that it can cause that kind of concertina effect, which ultimately can result in some incidents, some dings and whatever it might be. I suppose it's just a case of, if you are in that kind of mid-pack, as it were, maybe sort of, I don't know, 15 to 20, maybe somewhere around there, just kind of hovering over that brake pedal, almost from where you hit that kink on the first lap, isn't it? Just to make sure you're managing the gap in front of you, and you're not ultimately being that guy who kind of pinballs and just acts as the bowling ball and just goes through everyone on the first lap.
Well, let's just hope that doesn't happen then.
Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that won't be the case. The one other thing we should probably mention is that there is actually a prize for the class winner in both classes. So we're hoping that certain people don't win it, because I feel like they won't benefit from it but won't benefit from as much as the others. However, everyone who completes a full race this evening, or the full race, so the 70-minute duration of the race this evening, does get entered into a random prize draw for a livery by the Positive Perception livery team, which includes myself and Mr. Mark Raddenbury, who's racing tonight. He's obviously excluded from the poll because he doesn't need one. He just do it himself. If you were going to win that livery, Alex, what are you thinking? Now, you can't say an ABL branded one because that's cheating. If you had to pick any livery in the world to recreate, or even a random one, what would you go for and why?
Oh, you put me under pressure now.
I have. I'm going to do it many more times this evening.
Oh, gosh. Possibly an old classic Golf livery on a...
Nice.
McLaren 570S, because it's an underused car.
Nice. I wasn't expecting the car choice as well. I respect you for that, and I think the choice of livery is a very strong one. Funnily enough, so the Golf livery one, or the Golf livery as a kind of general design, was the first one I did, as kind of officially being one of the co-owners of Positive Perception alongside Mark. So it brings back some nice memories of that one. I did a Marlboro one, so the old school white and red Marlboro one on the new 720S a couple of weeks ago. That came out beautifully. And
The lineup was amazing. I saw it.
It was, well, yeah. I mean, that's what we do. We line things up well. We are very, very picky people, Mark and I, when it comes to this sort of thing. No detail, no pixel is left unturned, which is something we do pride ourselves on. And yeah, it helps that ACC just makes liveries look really, really good. We'll see. I'm sure we'll see a load of them this evening. We probably won't see as many as we will do when the GT3 season kicks off in a couple of weeks' time, because ultimately people are still finishing them off, and with this being a social race, we've not got to put too much pressure on people to do them, but it does result in some stunning grids when we get those custom liveries on board. So always something to keep a lookout for, and always something to reach out to us on. Anyone who participates in our series gets a discount on livery as well, so it's a no-brainer, really.
Pixley getting a bit loose through that last chicane then.
Big old tank slapper. He's got 7/10 in hand over Martin Thorpe behind him at the moment, so he's got a little bit of time. But just looking at it at the moment, there's a bit of a field spread in the GT4s. We've got 2.5 seconds back to Buchanan, who's at the back of the grid at the moment. I know he can go a little bit faster than that. He's probably got I would say about a second maybe on the table that he's got in hand. So we should see it close up. But again, I suppose the difference, and you probably know better than me because as far as I understand, you're a far more competent racing driver than I am on the sim. But
Oh, that's an ask.
I'm sure you are, buddy. Don't you worry. I suppose it's not necessarily about the raw pace of the GT4, is it? Because, I mean, yes, obviously it matters to a certain extent, but as we've mentioned already, it does kind of hark back to you just kind of need to keep out of trouble to a certain extent, don't you, in a GT4 race of this kind of length, as much as anything else.
Especially when it comes to oversteer, if you're doing a lap under pressure, like qualifying, for example, if you just get one wrong, like, perfect example right there, Pixley just going off the track, you're going to lose seconds, and time in this is precious.
Absolutely. I think the GT4s are very momentum driven, aren't they? Like, if you can keep a good level of momentum up when you're driving, it's a very good thing to have, I would suggest. As we see, I think it's Adriano Gregorelli. That's a fantastic name. It's a new name. I've not seen that one before. Hopefully we'll see him or her in the GT3 or GT4 championships. Goes a little bit quicker. In fact, no, it doesn't, because it was an invalid lap. I'm just going to cast back to Mr. Buchanan. Mentioned him already in the 570S, Alex, no less, which is your car of choice, which is nice to see.
He doesn't win.
Exactly, he needs to win now just to hold on to that, doesn't he? Just to hold on to what you said. He's 7 tenths up at the moment, so I can see that from the timing chart. And if you want to see the timings yourselves, then you should see the pinned message in the YouTube chat is to our Pitwall live server. So go and check it out. Get all the juicy information on the right people. And hearing fresh from it says positive perception in the chat. It's Mark Raddenbury who's in the car at the moment. He's nattering away with everyone in the pit lane, I believe, and looks like Mr. Pixley had or has, I don't know if he still has it on, the wrong setup on, so he's clearly got some time in hand, it looks like. He is rather quick indeed. And speaking of which, Jim Buchanan gets that 7/10 of a second, puts himself up to 4th in class, still a few tenths off of Flanker ahead of him, and then you've got Thorpe and Pixley a little bit further ahead, just towards the back end of the 51s and the 50s, but I'm sure Jamie will be happy with that. They've just about, it looks like to me, Alex, it looks like they've probably all got enough time for another lap, apart from Martin Thorpe, who's in the pit lane. Of course, one thing to note is they do have until the 15-minute time hits. If they cross the line before that, same as every other qualifying system in any other race that you watch across the world, they've still got the chance to finish that lap time. The GT3s have to wait behind them in that case. So if Jamie crosses the line, I think he might, just based on where he is, just about have enough time to get a final lap in before he has to retire back to the pit lane. So still a little bit of a chance potentially, I actually think, to maybe just get a couple more tenths on there, see if he can get a little bit more. Oh, it's very sideways. Not doing what he's just done, though, because he was 3 tenths up and then he's lost all of it because he's gone wide. But I think, looking at it, he's going to try and get that final lap in, it looks like.
Pixley's looking rather strong again, as the 7/10 shows, but I reckon he could probably get over a second. I want to see him in the 49s.
I think he's going to just about have the chance to do it, isn't he? Because he's just about to cross the line, so this is going to be his final lap. I can see he has just crossed the line, so he's going down towards Tamburello to kick off his final qualifying lap. It looks like Timon Carstens is doing the same as well. He's in the BMW, the 203 machine. And then we've got, Buchanan is going to come across the line. He is going to have enough time because we've got, 24 seconds until the GT3s leave the pit lane. In fact, I can hear some of them leaving already, or starting to leave. No, they're not out just yet. I'm trying to figure out who it is who's moving. I can't actually see it very well. If I go into the pit lane,
I reckon we just blame Mark.
Pro Streamer Move is just going through. Here we go. Look at them all queuing. It's not Mr. Raddenbury. I think it's Andy Driscoll is the first one. Oh, no, he's at the back, sorry. Never mind. Out they go, though. So there you go. The 15 minutes is up. So, as I said before, this gives the GT4 drivers a chance to finish their flying laps. Thorpe, Flanker and Gregorelli all in the pit lane, so they're not going to improve. Pixley going through Aqua Minerale and up the hill towards Grassini, to the Grassini chicane. He's just off his best time at the moment, but he's about 300ths of a second off. So, like you said, Alex, we might be on for an improvement. You might be able to extend that out to getting that gap up to Martin Thorpe behind to near a second, just as you said.
Anything can happen coming into Ravazza. right now. He could probably just lose it.
Absolutely. He's on the bubble at the moment. I mean, it doesn't massively matter because Carsten's behind him has invalidated his lap. He will not improve. Buchanan isn't going to improve either, and Pixley, as a result, decides and thinks, right, I'm going to save the tyres. I'm going to go out and I'm going to leave that for now. At the end of the day, he knows he's not going to improve. He knows no one else is going to get past him. So Pixley on pole for the GT4 class ahead of this evening's 70-minute race. And here we go then. Out come the big boys. The big guns are out on track. GT3s. Look at the track map. I'm sure you can see if you're watching a stream.
Absolutely,
Alex, I'm sure you can
bonkers.
see it. It is mad, isn't it? Look at that. I mean, as we can see it, the kind of the east side of the track is chocker at the moment. The first car to put in or to get onto a flying lap is going to be the number 166. That is Jay Brooker in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. So we'll keep an eye on him. And we'll actually go on board so we can see what the right one. There we go. So we can see from the essentially from the not the parcel shelf, the dashboard of his Lamborghini, what it's going to look like. It's very squiggly through the first couple of corners. That's not going to be the quickest way through Tamburello, but is it one of those, Alex? I don't know if you do this as well when you're racing. I certainly don't normally try to, but I know there's some people out there who will genuinely just get out as early as they possibly can, and they could put in the world's worst lap in the world, but they'll do it just to have pole position for like 10 seconds until the next guy crosses the line. Do you ever find yourself doing that?
Anything to improve my ego.
Very honest of you, I like it. You see, he's just coming through Piratella at the top of the hill, just about manages to hold on to that and doesn't invalidate the lap, which is a very simple thing to do through that fast left-hander, down through Aqua Minerale and up the hill. So all important exit out of there. Looks like he keeps it nice and clean. He's got the 25 car of Nadir Balozzo. I believe that is just behind him on track. So got a nice big gap behind him, which is good for him, and I suppose it's good for Balozzo as well, because if they do improve, then they're not going to be catching each other up as they go through their next few laps. Of course, 15 minutes doesn't really leave you the huge amount of time, does it? What, 140? Probably looking at what pole's going to be, what, 140 by 140, you would think, for this one. Gives them, I call it 7 laps if you stayed out for the duration of the session. So it doesn't give you a huge amount of time to get it right, especially if you need to pit, tyre pressures, fuel, etc, etc.
Now I wonder if anyone's done the move that I would do, which is only put three laps worth of fuel in and under fuel and come back out a second time.
See, that's exactly what I would do. I normally like to have 2 sessions because normally I've not practiced enough to get my tyre pressure set in properly. So I normally need to do that in the first couple of laps. And then I'll go back, like I say, refuel, a few more laps in, get the tyre pressure set up and ready to go, and then we're good to go. As it stands, Terry Driscoll in the 820 BMW M4 is sitting pole position. He's got a tenth of a second gap, to Liam Knott just behind. But we've got some quick guys coming through. Peter Phillips goes in the middle of them, and Mark Raddenberry goes in the middle of them as well. 0.03 of a second off with a 1:43.1. So it's looking pretty close at the top. I can still see there's a few people who I know will set up some good times to run through as well. I'm expecting the likes of Mark Neuterlings and John Gray and co to put in some lap times as well. In the meantime, Thomas Allen in the Team Racing Green number 5 Aston Martin puts himself on pole by a tenth of a second. So it's looking quite close at the moment, which is good to see.
Raddenberry is also improving on his times currently, but I wonder how long it's going to take until he loses it.
I think he's on the cusp of it, as I can see at the moment. So he's got a little bit of work to do. If he's to improve, I'm sure he will. He's got plenty of time on the table. That boy has. I know that for a fact. One person who has got a lot of time on the table. Oh, as he's just lost it though, was Alan D. Driscoll. He was a second and a half up there, potentially on task for a pole position if he'd have kept that time going. But unfortunately for him, isn't going to do that because he slid out the back end and put a bit of opposite lock on coming out of Aqua Minerale. As you see John Gray coming out of the final of the Tour of Axes onto the start-finish straight. He's the one I'm keeping an eye on. I want to see what his time's going to be as he crosses the line. It is going to be a 1:41.4. Wow, 1.5 seconds quicker than anyone else. I mean, that's the stall set out, isn't it?
That's already around a baseline time that people would be doing around here. So I reckon times will improve into the 40s.
Absolutely. I mean, he's already half a tenth up on his time. Mark Neuterlings goes second. Mentioned he'd be one to keep an eye out for. He's just over half a second back at the moment. But again, I'm sure he's thinking he's maybe got a little bit of time in the tank. He's been one of those, as are many people this evening, going over to the new Ferrari, which is a car I've not had the pleasure of driving yet. But he certainly seems to be finding his feet quite nicely with the Italian Stallion, the 296. And to be fair, it's a pretty beautiful looking machine as well, if I may say so myself.
100%. The UV wireframes, though, are horrendous.
Yeah, I have heard this. I've not had the pleasure of designing one yet, but I have heard they are not the most pleasant of machine to design. I think it's, to be fair, I feel like that is the general consensus of ACC as a whole. I tend to do most of my design work on the iRacing side of the POSPER livery team, so I do all of that on there, and Mark tends to handle most, if not all, of the ACC stuff. And I've seen contrasting wireframes for the same cars. This is a perfect example, the 992 GT3 that Peter Phillips is in at the moment. And they are so different, it is ridiculous. Like, I have never seen anything like it. Like, the iRacing ones, I know you've worked with them, because I know we talked about them in the past. They tend to flow, don't they? I know there's a few gaps here and there, but typically they tend to just flow properly, whereas the ACC ones are just a mishmash, I feel. And lining stuff up is an absolute pain.
Unless you use 3D softwares.
Unless you use 3D softwares, which is something that is on my list of things I want to do, but unfortunately I can't find the time or the ability to do it because I'm lazy.
It took me about 5 weeks just to learn how to import the car.
I've gotten that far, just can't do the rest of it, unfortunately. Mark Neuterling's there, a little bit quicker, gets himself into the 141s. I can see Lisa Louise is improving as well. She's in the number 56 BMW. She's just coming through the second of the so she's got about a second on her time at the moment. If she keeps this up, she's going to be right up in the top 5, I think. Although the top 5 are very close, so it'd be interesting to see where that time does put her in the end. Yeah, there you go. I proved myself right. She put herself in 6th. Just literally 0.005 of a second off of the ultimate time of that P5 driver at the moment. So a little bit of work to do for Lisa, fresh off of her more female racers AM class victory in the championship there, which is great to see. She's doing that in a POSPER branded car, no less.
Amazing.
So yeah, what we got? 6.5 minutes left of the session at the moment.
Newting's Mark going into the final corners now. I can't see his doubter, but it's looking like a good lap so far.
He is. Oh no, he's not invalidated. I thought he was. I just saw red on the screen. He's just a little bit off his ultimate time at the moment, but it looks like he's probably got a little bit of time on the table. Just went a little bit wide coming out of the second Ravazza there, which is a little bit of a shame. So not able to maintain that. We've got Valentino Picheri, who's gained a little bit of time in the first couple of corners of his lap, but then invalidates it going through the Villeneuve chicane. Just took a little bit too much curb there. Which has unfortunately made it so that he will have to go again. Liam not also improving, just a little bit further back on track. There's improvements, Alex. There's improvements all around, which is always a good thing to see. Does ultimately mean that it's going to be quite difficult for us to get a gauge as to who's going to be at the top of the top of the grid come the end of this session in the next 5 minutes, which is always a bit of fun for us and you and I to kind of guess what's going to happen.
I predict Mark's in last. Mark's actually looking very strong though.
I was just about
only
to
a
say,
second off.
He's looking alright at the moment. He'll be happy with that, I think. He'll be quite pleased with himself for that. He's still got 5 minutes left and still with a chance to put a bit more time on the board. We can see Jay Brooker here. He was the first man to set a lap time, of course. Set the stall out with a 1:43.4, I believe it was. He's got a couple of tenths in hand as he comes down the hill towards the 2 Ravazzas to finish off the lap. Keeps it nice and clean through the first one. Does he keep it nice and clean through the second one? He does. Doesn't look like he gets anything on the grass on the exit, which is always important. He's going to cross the line. Looks like he's going to gain a couple of positions. Where's he going to end up on the grid? As it stands, P5 for the 116 Lamborghini. Good lap time from him. See Mark Cooper in, I think that is a Golf livery, loosely inspired car, I think. As as Gray then goes quicker than everyone else and decides to go for a 141.1, which is rather impressive.
Disgusting.
that is almost unfair. Is that quick? I don't really approve of what he's done there, but fair play. I used to be able to do that before the 1.9 patch came in, and then I lost all form of speed on ACC as a whole, which is rather
Welcome to the gang.
Yeah. Admittedly, I haven't really driven it. I've driven it once since the patch came out properly, which was a race at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, and I got to it eventually, but it just took so much time and effort to figure out what on earth I was doing. But you see Mark Cooper coming out of the final corner. He's actually got he's got the best sector time for sector 2 of anyone in this session, which is impressive, showing how good that McLaren is in the mid-speed corners. As there you go, puts himself up into P4. So I tell you what, Alex, if we take away Jamie Gray at the front of the grid, it's shaping up to be quite a spicy one, isn't it? Because we've got, a second between P3 and P13. So it's quite a good spread of cars we've got. Just if you take away this man on screen, John Gray, because he's just too quick.
Especially in the Aston Martin that was nerfed.
Yeah, see, that was my car of choice for a while.
So
I'm feeling I might need to move away. Need to try something different. I do like the McLaren. I haven't driven the new one yet, so I might have to give that a whirl at some point. Valentino Picheri comes across the line. What's he going to do? He goes up into P4 now, exactly a second off of John Gray's pole position time at the moment. We've got 2.5 minutes left in this session. Let's see if anyone else is improving. Bren Jones comes through the final Ravazza. He's got a few tenths on his time. That's going to shoot him right up. He's actually very close to Mr. Scruton ahead of him on the grid. He's going to take an interesting line across there, but does improve, puts himself up into P15. So another good display from him. And another man who's improving coming out the final corner, Jürgen Hoffmann in the 55 Ferrari. He's 1.2 seconds up, so he's going to put himself even further ahead and splits Jones and Balozzo in P15 himself. So lots of improvement. I mean, we're already on an optimum track state, but it feels like, I don't know, maybe people are getting their eye in a bit more, do you think?
What normal ACC doesn't tell you is what percentage optimum is at, which ACC drive I think does tell you. So I reckon the percentage of optimum is currently just creeping up ever so slightly.
You absolutely. I think it must be. Because yeah, times are continuing to tumble at the moment. I mean, we're still not necessarily getting too close to John at the front, although I do believe Terry Driscoll has improved on the last lap, so he's the closest man at the moment. He's actually got the fastest first sector as well. Interestingly, it looks to me, I mean, I can't see who's got the fastest final sector because it's decided it doesn't want to tell me, which is a little bit weird. But it shows you John Gray hasn't got the fastest of any sector time in this qualifying session, which shows you how it's not just about having the fastest car at certain points. It's about how you hook it together, isn't it?
100%.
There you go. A bit more improvement there from Terry Driscoll. He's got one more lap to see if he can pull anything out of the bag. He's actually got John Gray just ahead of him. That is the Aston Martin going through the Tamburello chicane at the moment. Mark Raddenbury, another man who's improving on his final lap of this qualifying session. He's in the 142s at the moment. He's got a couple of tenths in hand as he goes through the Tosa hairpin. As does... Oh, go on.
Brent Jones coming on to his final lap now, coming through the second corner into what I believe is... not even going to attempt to say that name because it's Italian and I don't want to get angry Italians on me.
Of all the people you don't want to anger, it does feel like those of an Italian persuasion are probably the ones you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of.
100%.
I find if you speak it with confidence, everyone will believe what you're saying. Tends to have served me well in life up until this point. But yeah, Brady's improving. So he's got about 10.5 in hand at the moment. So is Driscoll behind him as well. He's got 3 tenths in hand. As we see, someone's shot right up the stand. I think it was Jay Brooker then he went up. It might have been Melvin, who's now in P7. We're going to catch Mark Raddenbury as he comes through the final couple of corners. As we do see the checkered flag drop. No improvements. Driscoll did improve in the end, so he's got up to P15. Balozzo hasn't improved. He stays P14. Mark Raddenbury is going to cross the line. Is it going to be enough to get himself ahead of Mark Cooper and into P5? Is it going to be enough? It is. Oh, just. How close do you want to be? But that's a P5 as it stands for Mr. Raddenbury. However, keep an eye on Jay Brooker, Alex, because he is improving, and he's improving by what looks to be enough to break Raddenbury household hearts, because it looks like if he keeps it together, although he's just lost a bit of time, if he keeps it together, he is going to improve and take that 5th place away. But I'm sure Mark will be very pleased with a top 5 result as it stands. Although, barring a miraculous turn of phrase? No, it's not the right way to say it. Barring a miraculous turn of events for anyone further down the grid, John Gray is going to take that pole position for the GT3 class. Jay Brooker is going to be one of the final people to cross the line.
About to cross the line now.
There we go. We'll see what the time is as he cuts the beam. And there you go. Breaks Raddenbury Hearts by 100ths of a second. Goodness me. How
this is going to be a close race then.
This is going to be a very close race indeed. I'm delighted that you've decided to join me for this one, Alex. You're clearly a good luck charm if that qualifying session is anything to go by. Because, yeah, that was a very spicy qualifying. Nice and close, which is exactly what we want to see. So, John Gray will be your man who takes the pole position for this one. Terry Driscoll, will be your man in 2nd position on the grid. Mark Neutlings and Valentino Buccieri will be 3rd and 4th on the grid respectively, and then it's Jay Brooker and Mark Raddenbury who will be 5th and 6th on the grid themselves. Mark Cooper and Elijah Melvin will be 7th and 8th, and then Lisa Louise and Liam Knott will round out the top 10. Peter Phillips and Thomas Allen will be 11th and 12th. There, Thomas Allen maybe showing how the Aston Martin has been nerfed if it's not in the right hands, clearly, if we compare him and Mr. Gray at the top of the timing charts. Nick Cardianis and Bren Jones of the Valleys Motorsport team, number 6 car, they are in P13 and 14. Balozzo and Driscoll are on the 7th row of the grid. Hoffman and Bro are in 17th and 18th, and then Waguna and Sasha are rounding out the top 20. And the last of the 2 remaining GT3 cars, Rick Shooten and Stuart Tomlinson, round out the classified cars in the GT3 class. As it goes for the GT4s, Rich Pixley, of course, took the pole in the Alpine Esports Series number 7 machine. Martin Thorpe is 2nd on the grid. He's in the Connexus Motorsports Chevy Camaro. And then you've got Crispy Flanker and Jamie Buchanan 3rd and 4th on that class grid. 2 on Carstens, 27th or 5th on the grid. Adriano Gregorelli in the EOS Porsche is in 6th on the grid. And then we've got Matt Kumiski, who I believe popped into the server a little bit later than everyone else. He's in the Aston Martin GT4. He will be at the back of the grid. Courtesy of the fact that, Alex, he didn't put a time on the board, which I probably think that was a smart move, because I think he joined after the GT3s had started, and you can imagine what it would be like. It would almost be like being in a stampede, wouldn't it? Being the one lonely GT4 in a qualifying session monopolised by GT3s. I can't imagine that would be a particularly fun place to be.
It certainly isn't, from experience.
No, it doesn't sound like a very fun thing to do. I can safely say that. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot again. And I can cheat a little bit here. Although, to be fair, we can probably cheat a little bit because we've just watched an entire qualifying session. But from a class perspective, so GT3 to GT4, I'd like you to call out who you think is going to take the win in each class this evening.
It all comes down to pit stops. It's how close qualifying is. But if Gray gets his pit stop nailed, I reckon he would be able to take the bag if he stays consistent. But Driscoll, on the other hand, is not going to give him the easy job. Now, Pixel, I think his name is. I can't see his name again. Sorry about that. I reckon just by the amount he gaps the other GT4s will probably take the win if, again, he stays consistent. Because GT4s are very difficult to just lose a lot of time in.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to agree with you on half of that. I'm gonna risk it here. I just to go with something different as much as anything else. As much as I'd love to say that I think John Gray is going to take the win, which I feel like he might do, but you never know. I feel like it is going to be himself who takes that win. But I'm gonna go for a punt with Mr. Mark Neutlings for the win in the GT3 class. I know how consistent he is. He's not necessarily as quick as the guys ahead of him, but if there's one man who can keep it in a straight line and pointing on the black stuff for an eternity of a race, he is that man. I can't disagree with you, however, on the GT4 side of things, though. I would like to see if Martin Thorpe could maybe get a little bit up close and personal with Rich Pixley. I know that Martin was particularly quick when he partook in the GT3 championship last time out in season 7 with Positive Perception. I haven't seen him in a GT4 yet, but that 7/10 of a gap in qualifying is quite big. I know it's over 1 lap, but I don't know. Be interesting to see. I think that, like you pointed out earlier, Alex, I think that first tour of the circuit where the GT3s come back around to the GT4s, that's going to have a really big impact on this race.
Yeah, especially, is there any GT4 drivers you haven't seen before?
There's actually quite a few of them. I've only actually seen Pixley and Buchanan drive a GT4 car, and I've driven with both of them. Now, I know they're both pretty good at a GT4 car, but I can't speak for the rest of them. To be fair, we're in a fortunate position. Quite a lot of these names I don't recognise across the entire grid. And I've commentated on this for nearly 2 full seasons now, so I don't know why I don't recognise a lot of them, but it's never a bad thing. It means we've got lots of people coming and joining the community, which is always great. I think we've just ticked over 400 followers on SimGrid, which is fantastic. So thank you to all of you who have followed so far. Now we're going to get
going on to the formation. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, crack on.
When's Mark coming in?
So that was what I was about to say. I'm going to drag him in any second now. I'm actually going to drag him in now, and we're just going to carry on talking whilst we bring him in, so that it makes him sound like he's really important and wants to have a proper conversation with us. Mark Roddenberry, you are live on air. Please do not swear. How are you this evening?
We were just having a conversation about that, actually. Yes, I'm very good. How are you guys?
Very good, thank you. Loving having Alex with me this evening. Really good to have a fellow commentator in the comments box for me once more, after sadly to do the last round of the season solo. Well, I say had to do it. Everything broke. So anyway, enough about that. 6th on the grid. It's a good qualifying session. How was it from your perspective?
I had more in the tank. I've actually, during practice, I did a 41.9. So there is more pace in this BMW. I just haven't quite eked it out over a single lap.
And remind me, the M4 is your choice of car for the GT3 season 8, isn't it? So
it is.
Gives you a chance to road test it.
Gives me a really good chance to road test it, fall in love with it. We all know my love for the M6. This just feels like a fitting replacement.
Amazing livery as well. I have to point that out.
Thank you. I took a long time deciding which livery to go for, and the Walkenhurst, it just, had to be done.
That's surely plus 5 horsepower.
10, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff. And look, obviously, it's a fun race, for want of a better phrase. It's our pre-season social, as we mentioned a few times, and we'll be talking about the fact that random finishers in class will get a livery to themselves, which is nice to see. Obviously, you and I say I'm exempt from it. Of course, I'm not racing, but you're obviously exempt because you could just do it yourself anyway. So
exactly,
no need to worry too much about that. But do you still get that same level of? I don't know. I've never even asked you this question before anyway, but do you get a level of nerves going into a race like this because of how many people are on the grid? You obviously want to make sure it's a good race.
I get nervous for any race. I always get a little hint of nerves. It's weird. It's just how I am.
And lastly, because I appreciate we're coming towards the end of the lap and I want you to get your head in the game, hopes and expectations ahead of this race. What's a good finish for Mark Roddenberry this evening?
Finish where I started.
Spoken like a true gentleman. I don't think I've ever not heard you say that when I've asked you that question. So thanks for sticking true to yourself and doing what you always do.
I'll change it. 1 place higher than I started.
There we go.
If that doesn't happen, I'm going to bother you on Twitter for that.
That's fine.
Good stuff, Mark. Well, look, you're going on to the start finish straight now, so have fun, mate. Enjoy.
Thank you.
And we'll catch you later. Have a good race.
Thank you. Cheers, boys.
Less than 10 seconds now until we start, most likely. Who do you think's got to, let's say, bottle it?
I can't say that. I can't answer that because I'll have people running after me. You know what it's like being a commentator. You can't say anything that's going to annoy people. Although that's pretty much exactly what you do. But as we go towards the finish line for the start of this one, it looks like John Gray a little bit out of his grid box at the moment as we're ready to go green here at Imola for the pre-season social here for at the Positive Perception HQ YouTube channel, ready for the 70-minute race. 1 pit stop required, and there we go. Green. And John Gray gets a decent start. He's got Terry Driscoll right alongside him. He's going to squeeze him. You'd think Mark Roddenberry on the grass into the first couple of corners there. You can see him in the background as they come into Tamburello for the first time. It looks like we're all kind of tentatively getting our way through. which is always nice to see. We're just going to quickly drop back and see what's happening. But it looks like, Alex, everyone has gotten through very cleanly indeed, which is exactly what I would like to see. Very good indeed.
A few sketchy moments, though, coming into the first corner. I saw about maybe 2 Ferraris. It has to be the Ferrari. That was on the grass just for enough time that iRacing would not let you go with it.
God, yeah. I think you and I both know very well how the iRacing grass works. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's grass. I'd say it's just ice as much as anything else, wouldn't you? It's not the easiest thing to get around at the best of times. So luckily, though, yeah, it looks like everyone's gotten through cleanly, which is exactly what we wanted. The big winner, I would say. I mean, we've had a few changes of position off the start as we see a yellow caused part of the way through. I think that was Andrea Sasha going off there. Didn't quite see what happened to him, but John Gray, big winner off the start there. He's got a 1.6 second gap already.
Two GT4s, sorry to interrupt again, but the two GT4s are absolutely battling it down for P26 and 25. There's a three-way battle currently for, I want to say that's P25. It's already looking a bit dodgy after that, but let's just hope for the best for them.
Absolutely, yeah. You can see it doesn't help that obviously with Sasha going off, he's dropped back into that battle pack of the GT4. So he is in between Pixley and Carstens at the moment. In fact, Martin Thorpe got Pixley off the line, so change for position in the lead class of the GT4s at the moment, but not the start Sasha would have wanted. He's already about 2 or 3 seconds off the back of the pack in the GT3s, which is not ideal. He want to get past these next two cars as quickly as he can, and ultimately start working his way back towards the back end of that pack.
Just saw Mark nearly get tempted for a dive bomb into the first corner against Brooker, but he contained himself, which is not like Mark.
It's very naughty indeed. Thomas Allen, we can see you're riding on board with it at the moment. Oh, gets a send up the inside from Peter Phillips. That's a very late move from the number 14 Porsche. Just about managed to put him off.
Side by side still.
Yeah, still side by side as they come up the hill towards Piratella. To be fair, it looked like Allen was actually going to try and make the move on Melvin.
Oh, is the Ferrari going to go through the inside?
Oh, this has not worked out well for him, has it? Is he going to go around the outside as they go into Aqua Minerale?
Oh, and the Aston Martin takes it just back.
Yeah, lovely stuff from them. I was about to say, it looked like Thomas Allen was just trying to get the move done on Melvin, going round the outside into the toe of the hairpin, but Phillips just came out of nowhere. We're on board with him on the stream, on the stream, so he just appeared out of nowhere and just went, "I'm here, I'm going through," and forced his way, but it worked really well. So you can see now Mark Neudsling's a little bit of pressure from behind from Valentino Paceri. He's in P3 at the moment, so holding station, as are the top 7 at the moment, so no change in the top 7. Lisa Louise and Liam Knott both getting a couple per position each. Melvin dropping down a couple. Big losers off the start. Well, the big loser in the GT3 category is Nick Carianis. He's dropped 5 positions off the start. We've got Tomlinson, who has gained 5 off the start as well. GT3s wise, the big winner at GT4. Sorry, the big winner out of that one is Timon Carstens. He's gained 2 positions off his grid spot at the start of this one. So plenty to go through. So second lap in the books. It's looking good for John Gray though, isn't it, Alex? He's got 2.7 seconds of a gap out in front. He's maybe at the stage where you manage it a little bit, do you think?
This kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you watched it, but the Spa 24 Hours last year when James Baldwin gapped the entire GT3 pack in the esports race. I kind of have a feeling this is what's going to happen again, and we're just not going to see him for a while.
I think that's a very fair point. I did watch a little bit of it. I watched more of what James put on afterwards, because was that the race where there was that kind of point of rain, and then I think he was in the team with Boothby and a couple of other people, wasn't he? And I think they pitted for wets really, really early, and it eventually worked out quite well for them. Was it that race? I know that was at Spa. I just don't know if that was the 24 or not.
I was talking about the official Spa 24 Hours when he raced last year.
My apologies. I watched that as well, to be fair. I didn't watch all of it, but I watched a little bit. Oh, Sandy Driscoll. Sorry, just lumps over the sausage curbs coming out of the Crescini chicane.
Lamborghini going through the inside.
Yeah, it looks like
Gives it back.
He's going to get the move done. Nice and easy for him to get up into P14.
Oh, we have a crash. We have a crash.
Yeah, interested. Just spotted that one. Let's see if we can catch a replay of that. See what's happened. See who was involved. I think it would have...
seems to be, it's not John Gray. It must be the other Aston Martin of
Thomas
yes,
Allen. Yeah.
yeah, Allen.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have damage though.
See if we can catch a replay on that. Let's just jump back and see what's happened. It's him and Peter Phillips going into the Ravazza 1. And Allen, oh yeah, just a little bit too late on the brakes. Rather sensibly, and something we do encourage at Posper. Very good of him to wait. And I thought he was going to continue to give Phillips the position. I think he probably did, but Phillips has gone into the pits as a result. So,
fortunately, I think Phillips might either be retiring from the race just by the way he's going into pits. He might be repairing.
I was going to say he's got to serve that one pit stop at some point. So might work out all right for him in the end. He might just have that chance to maybe just hot lap for a little while and get some time back on the rest of some clear air. We'll have to wait and see. Of course, what that does benefit him with is the fact that, I mean, he's not going to catch the GT4s later than everyone else, assuming doesn't get lapped by John Gray, who's just gone through the Grissini chicane. But it does mean that he's not going to have to go back near them again for a little bit longer than everyone else is as a result of where he's going to end up on track, which is never a bad thing.
Mark getting a bit of Newton's getting a bit of pressure from the Ferrari behind of Buccaresi, I want to say. That's probably completely wrong, but we'll go with it. I've not seen Mark drive many times, but he's very good under pressure of when I've seen him drive.
He's very, I've said this, and he was worried that I was going to be rude about him because he was very much bragging about how he was quicker than me when we did a race at Bathurst a couple of weeks ago, and he was worried that because he's been ripping the piss, I was going to be really rude about him this evening. I'm not going to drop that low. He's a very good defensive driver, though, Mark. Like, you've hit the nail on the head. He's very good under pressure. He's very rarely makes a mistake. If he does, they're quite big ones.
Mark going for the inside against Brooker, just backing off though through that because I think Brooker didn't give that much space.
Yeah, it's certainly forming a few little battle packs here and there. I can see so we've got Karayanis following Tomlinson. He's got Laguna and Hoffman ahead and behind him at the moment. So there's a 4-pack as you were for that. You've got Lisa Louise just following very closely behind Mark Raddenbury. In fact, Mark Raddenbury was 0.61 of a second behind Brooker going through the first sector part of the lap, which is just between Tamburello and the Villeneuve chicane, isn't it? So he's clearly proving he's got some pace in that one, as he rightly pointed out when we were chatting to him in the little formation app that he did. So he's clearly showing to us, isn't he, Alex? He has got some pace in that BMW.
100% he definitely does, but Pixley has now been defeated and Thorpe is now currently in front of him, which is already our predictions are out the window so far. But
exactly, yeah. See, I should have predicted Thorpe. I should have just gone against what you said and not agreed with you and just gone for someone different, and we would have been alright now, because at least as a team we'd have been correct. But
Thorpe getting a bit loose though, might have a better chance of getting him through this sector now.
Yeah, you can see there on board with Martin Thorpe, you can see Pixley right in the rear view mirror, all over the back of him. He's got a really good exit as the Alpine, as they come out of Acqua Minerale up to the Grissini chicane. He's going to be on the inside, going into the the right hand, into the left.
He's taking it back.
Very nice move from Pixley, yeah, with a nice little flick of the tail out of the exit of the corner, just to a little bit of showmanship as he comes out of that corner job. But good move there for Pixley. You're absolutely right, Alex. He got the run. Obviously, it's not just getting the run on them, as well as it. You've got to obviously make the move stick, and as a result, did what he needed to do. Is all we see back up towards that battle for P5. Raddenbury up into P5 now. Brooker's actually dropped 2 positions. He has dropped from P5 down to P7. Lisa Louise getting her move done and through behind, continuing her move behind Raddenbury in P6 at the moment. They've got a 3.5 second gap to the battling Neuterlings, Bucheri and Driscoll up ahead. So a little bit of time now. I know that Lisa and Mark will be in the same voice chat at the moment. I reckon they're probably having a little natter between them and saying, right, I'm not going to attack you, don't defend against me, let's just work together, let's bridge that gap and see if we can get back up to that potential podium battle. Do you think?
I reckon that Lambo just behind them, just getting a bit of an oversteer them. I think that's probably what they're doing, because you see Louise isn't overtaking when Mark's going to hate me for saying this, but he seems faster in a few sectors, but Mark through sector 1 does seem to have a better exit through most of the corners.
Absolutely. And Mark's he's proven us right. He said he wanted to gain a position. He's done that so far. So if he keeps in this position by the end of the race, he can say that he safely achieved his objective for this one, which is always a nice feeling.
And he won't get abused on Twitter.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Which is always a good thing. Mark Cooper now, he's the one behind Mr. Brooker. Oh, very close. Oh, my goodness me. Very late on the braking was Mark there. I know that McLaren is very good on the brakes, but maybe just a little bit too late on that one. As a result, had to take avoiding action to make sure he didn't run into the back of that.
Never test against the Lambo, though.
No,
the Lambo
exactly.
will always outbrake them.
Yeah, he didn't manage to make it work on that occasion as Bucheri looks around the outside of Neutlings as they go through Tozer. Doesn't make it stick, though. So Mark Neutlings holds on to P3, but this is going to help those guys, the Raddenbury and Louise combo at the moment. That's going to help them because it's just going to bring them back towards them a little bit and start to make this a bit of a bigger battle for that final spot on the podium. Worth remembering, of course, that Terry Driscoll is not far ahead of them as well. So still potential for this to possibly become a 4-5-way battle for second place, which is exactly what I'm coming here for this evening.
Either we've seen a very, very early pit stop, or we've seen number 193 of the Sky Tempest McLaren have damage. I don't know if there's been a crash between them.
Yeah, so Karayanis is in the pit lane. For some reason, my it won't let me go to him on the screen at the moment. I think it's trying to. I think my automated camera is trying to take me back to someone else. He is in the pit lane, so he is. Yeah, he's coming out of the pit lane now. So yeah, he's served his mandatory stop. I imagine, knowing Nick, he's quite a sensible man. He probably thought, look, I'm stuck in traffic. I'm battling with people I don't really need to be. Maybe I'll just kind of work on it, get a bit of clear track. Unfortunate thing, I suppose, for him though is the fact that he's not really going to get any clear track, because looking at the track map, he's going to come out right in the middle of the leading cars, so he's going to have to pretty much immediately surrender to blue flags, which is not ideal.
What position did? He's. I'm lost for words. What's just happened there? He's just turned left into a right-hander.
Very odd. See if we can find that. I can't see. I haven't got it on the replays, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. I would have loved to have seen what had happened there. Yeah, very odd indeed. Maybe he's just getting out of the way. It's a weird one. You don't need to necessarily get that much out of the way if you've got blue flags behind you, but yeah, he served his pit stop, and that's the important thing for him. He's now got the chance to run straight to the end, almost like treat it like a sprint race, and just see where you end up. He's come out behind Peter Phillips though, which I know you mentioned, Alex. Obviously, Peter looked like he had a lot of damage when he had that coming together with Thomas Allen. So we'll see. But must mean that Carrier had some sort of damage as well.
This part of the race, there's not much happening, but there's people wanting to pounce when they shouldn't. So
yeah, 100%.
We'll just have to see.
100%. Because see, Mark Neutlings has made the move. He is up into P2. So he is now the second place man on track. He's got himself past Terry Driscoll. Terry Driscoll has got Valentino Bucheri right up his gearbox in that BMW M4, the Team WRT 820 car. Luckily, he's got a nice big Ferrari in front of him to use as a bit of a tow to pull himself down the start-finish straight, which is going to help him throughout this one. However, we've seen Bucheri pretty racy, I would suggest. So just something he needs to be aware of. I don't mean that in the sense of he's going to do something he shouldn't do, but Bucheri's certainly showing that if an opportunity is there, he's going to go for it.
Carstens and Flank are looking like they're about to have a bit of a battle coming into, I want to say, is the chicane, but I can't see.
Piratella is the one that you're on about. I've just dropped onto them on the stream as it stands. For those of you wondering why we're looking at different battles, sadly I'm not able to share what you guys can see to Alex via Discord. I don't know why it's decided it doesn't want to work. I've never had this problem before, but it kind of works out alright because you can spot things that I can't, which is always helpful. So it's like an extra pair of eyes. I'm one step closer to becoming the octopus in the commentary box.
I printed out the track map because I knew none of the corners, but I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce any of the names today.
Hey look, like I said earlier, say it with confidence and people will believe you.
We'll see in a minute.
I want you to try before the end of the race. Otherwise, I'm going to get you. Otherwise, once this broadcast is finished, I'm going to get you to tell me every single one in order, and I'll roast you on Twitter if you get any of them wrong.
all right, calm it down, then.
See there, back to the battle for P2. This is one of the, if not the closest battle with a couple of cars on track as it stands at the moment. Neuterling's gained a couple of tenths on the last lap to Terry Driscoll behind. He was actually 9 tenths of a second quicker on that final tour, as they are just about starting to get up to the back of the GT4s. So I can see John Gray, the 87 car, the little triangle on the track map on the right hand side. He has got through the majority of the, oh dearie me, as Driscoll very nearly went straight through the back of the Porsche, the 303 car of Adriano Gregorelli. Very, very close indeed. Luckily, it didn't come to blows with those two. What I was going to say is the fact that John Gray has managed to get through the kind of the bulk of the fighting pack of the GT4s, which is what these guys are now coming up towards. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare, because obviously all of those guys, they're battling for position, so they're not going to want to impact themselves too much. They're going to want to try, I'd assume, to hold on to it until they get to the start-finish straight, but I don't think they're going to get that far.
Brooker is catching Louise at, I'd say, probably around the 10th, not a second, the lap at the moment. I wonder if there is one, if Rathenbury and Louise are going to keep their little deal. Oh, but Louise just got very loose coming into, I'm not even going to... Piratella, there you go.
There you go.
And Louise looks like she's crashed.
Yeah, she's...
that was an interesting rejoin. Oh, that was scary.
Yeah, looks like she's come off a bit there. We'll go back on the replay, just see what's happened. In fact, no, we can see. Oh, she's tried to spin it round and then unfortunately hit the curve, and then I'm not really sure what. Oh, goodness me! I've just seen the rejoin you've seen there. That yeah, leaves a little bit to be desired. I'm gonna be honest. Not her finest moment, as I'm sure she'll be more than happy to admit.
We've just seen Melwin go into the back of the Porsche of, I want to say, yeah, Gregorelli, going into the wall, causing significant damage, but it's a GT4, so it should be able to tank it.
Yeah, it's certainly easier to handle the damage of the GT4s, but not ideal from Adriano Gregorelli's point of view. I can see, yeah, still causing it. He's just dropped off to the side of the track. It does look like he's moving again, and I assume we'll see the P come up next to his name.
He's not going to the pits, so I'm presuming he's going to try and fight it.
Carry on, yeah, interesting move. So that does change it a little bit up at the top end. So it's still John Gray at the top of the timing charts to the tune of about 11 and a bit seconds to Martin Neutling's behind. Valentino Buccieri has got past Terry Driscoll, so Driscoll dropping a couple of positions on the last couple of laps. There's about 2 seconds and a second between those guys respectively, so a little bit of a gap forming there as well. Mark Rathenbury is sitting P5 still. He's got Jay Brooker behind him now rather than Lisa Louise, because as Alex rightly mentioned then, Lisa losing the back end of the car going through Aqua Minerale, and unfortunately losing quite a bit of time as a result. Then we've got Liam Knott, Mark Cooper, Elijah Melwin, who of course just got caught up in that incident with Adriano Gregorelli you mentioned, and then Lisa Louise, the aforementioned, rounding out the top 10. So it is, like we said before, it is starting to break out a little bit, you would say. We've still got battle packs forming here and there. We've got the battle you can see on screen at the moment with Laguna, Hoffman, Driscoll, and Shooten, who are all within a second of each other on trackers. Oh, dearie me, Hoffman very, very close to the back end of the Porsche, of the 696 Porsche, going through Aqua Minerale. And we're starting, Alex, to see a handful of pit stops, aren't we? Some of them, of course, we've seen for damage, you'd think. However, Sasha looks to me, I don't think I saw him get involved in anything. It looks like he is the first one of what you would call your kind of scheduled pit stop.
Now, having a pit stop this early into a race is a very risky move, because obviously you don't know whenever people are going to pit. But as it's a 70-minute race, I guess, is it a fuel or a tyre pit stop?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer.
Nice.
I think I can probably find out, to be fair.
Because if it's a tyre pit stop, you shouldn't be pitting until at least the 30 mark.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone has just been rewarded a drive-through. Louise has just been rewarded a drive-through.
Yeah, you can only imagine that is going to be to do with track limits, you would think. As Hoffman just gets nerfed a little bit off the track. I don't know. I didn't quite catch his look. I was looking at something else, unfortunately, to see who caused that to happen, but that's dropped him back down to P18 at the moment. So not ideal for that man. So you see Andy Driscoll moves himself up into P16 as a result. Of course, as we mentioned, yeah, Lisa Louise going to lose a bit of time to the guys behind her because obviously she's had that incident happening elsewhere, which is not ideal, but
she has just been given another track for that chicane entrance, so I think she might be struggling on the track limits.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those tracks, isn't it? It's quite easy, especially when you're pushing the car as hard as some of these guys look to be doing, to actually to not get or to not fall foul of them. As weirdly, Andy Driscoll was very slow. Oh, goodness me. Hoffman loses it all on his own. What has happened there? There you go. Lisa Louise serving the drive. There's so much to keep a track of at the moment. It's hard to know where to look.
Louise is now entering the pit, but she can't do her stop. That means she has to do a now 2-stop strategy, which is this is going to affect her race majorly. Maybe even causing her race to be over in the way. But you never know. You never know.
Potentially. Now, I've seen contact between Valentino Buccieri, the number 5 car Thomas Allen, and the number 286 car of Andy Driscoll. I'm going to go for the replay of this. I don't really know what's happened here. In fact, it seems to have accidentally picked up on the 229 car of Buccieri, because he definitely wasn't involved. That was the incident we saw as they went through the Grassini chicane, whereby we saw Hoffman lose it all on his own, and then a little bit of a coming together between Allen and Driscoll. Nothing too kind of crazy in the grand scheme of things, but interesting to see how the broadcast app picks up on those kind of incidents, and what it decides it wants to do is see Liam Knott with Mark Cooper close for company. That is Adam Sasha just ahead of him. Of course, Sasha is one of those cars who I think has pitted now, so yeah, he is back at the grid. So he has served his mandatory pit stop, so he'll be a lap down. I think what Knott is hoping for at the moment is not anything too difficult. The way they're going through the Ravazzas, it's very close. That's
you
not
see the
going to help him
McLaren
at
just
all.
behind. Oh my days! Just having to back off there just to save himself from the.
I was going to say, if Mark had got a good exit there was a definite possibility he was going to get himself up into P7. As a result, he's overcorrected the car a little bit, trying not to go into the back of either of those two. And
we have a slow car over at. Oh, we have a spin 623 of Schouten has spun out in the second chicane of Alta. Let's call it that. There you go. I don't know how I'm presuming he went over the sausage curb too much and just lost because of the ground clearance between the how low it is with the McLaren.
Normally tends to be the common cause of those kind of incidents, especially going through that chicane. Going through those chicanes. Like, they're obviously there as a deterrent, and I understand why they're there. Obviously, there's some contentious issues around the sausage curbs and that sort of thing. They are obviously there to stop people from doing what shooters just tried to do there. However, it is one of those, they're so difficult to avoid, aren't they? You want to try and maximise every part of the lap, and as a result, sometimes you're just going to hit them. What can you do?
Yeah, well, you can get away with it quite well in iRacing, but in this game, it is brutal.
Absolutely, it's a tough one. That much is certain. As we see,
we have another drive-through for Sasha. He's now 3 laps down. She or he has not had a good race today.
No, it's not been looking good for Sasha, has it? Of course, yeah, he's back at the grid anyway. It's not going to come out any easier. I mean, Lisa Louise has dropped down, so she went from 10th to 19th as a result of her drive-through penalty. She's just off the back of Robert Shooton at the moment by just under half a second, as you see there. Obviously, Thomas Allen yeeting the curbs at the Grassini chicane. I mean, if that's not a track limit warning, I don't know what is. He's essentially gone straight over the first part of the chicane and then extended on the exit as well. So he's taken the trifecta of incidents there. As you can see, the GT4 AMG of Crisby Flanker getting lapped by I think that is Nick Carrion. In fact, no, he's not being lapped by him. That's just him making a position because Nick has already served his pit stop. He's got Jamie Buchanan right behind him for company as well. So going to have to be a little bit careful in his rear view mirrors that little McLaren 570S doesn't try and make a move, because a little bit deep into Tamburello chicane compromises the entry and exit into that one, and that's going to give Buchanan a chance to just get a little bit closer and just start to just make him aware that he's in the mirrors. I mean, Alex, like if you're in this position, are you that kind of person who is a bit of you do a bit of mirror torture? Do you kind of let them know you're there, remind them for a couple of laps, kind of spy out the weak spots, then go for the move? Or are you like, look, if the move's there, I'm going to go for it and just sort of get it done?
It depends on what track and who the driver is. Especially if you know the driver, you want to make it as painful as possible for them. But the best way, in my opinion, to just keep consistent while being safe is just putting pressure on the car above. And slowly but surely, you'll start to see small mistakes that will cost seconds throughout laps. But yeah, I just like torturing people in the mirror, so I'm going to go for that.
It's a good way to do it. I've seen people do it in different ways. Like I'm definitely one of those. I like to sound people out over a couple of laps. Like you say, understand the weak points, understand where they're quicker than me, where they're slower than me, knowing kind of when to make the move. Admittedly, I never do the move when it's sensible to do so, but I still think about it at least.
Or we have a close battle here with Alan, and I want to say that's Laguna. Probably the closest battle on track right now.
Yeah.
Just you can see Alan just keeping his mirror torture alive.
Absolutely, yeah, Alan is all over the back of him now. He's taken some interesting lines. I don't know if that is just him maybe overcorrecting. We're not seeing some mistakes here and there, but he's I'm going to say he's all over the place, but he's certainly quite erratic in the driving style. As we see all of them getting caught up behind the BMW of Carsten's, I think that is, the GT4 ahead of them. So Carsten has to be a little bit careful as the Porsche just exits stage right.
Just went right.
Not registered any contact between them, so I don't know why that has happened there. But ultimately, I mean, well, to be fair, what we might have just seen now, Alex, is a perfect way of how to conduct a bit of mirror torture, because Alan was behind him for a while. Laguna's made the mistake, and Alan's got the position. So, if anything,
why I'm presuming so many people are starting to have crucial mistakes with Overseer is because it's around the time where the tires start to drop off, especially when you're like flat out being so aggressive with the tires. So we're definitely going to start seeing fall off with pace, or with people who have just been super aggressive with their tires. And you'll start to see maybe, hopefully, some of the underdogs to rise up because they've started being sensible with their tyres.
Absolutely. Speaking of people looking at potentially going to change tyres, Terry Driscoll has pitted from P4. So that promotes Raddenbury, Brooker, Knott, Cooper and co. all up a position in the top 10. So Terry will see where he comes out in a minute or so. And he's probably our first kind of proper gauge, isn't he, to see exactly where some of these cars are going to come out. Like, this is the one where we obviously want to be keeping an eye on him compared to Mark Raddenbury and Bocelli and Brooker and people like that, because this will give us a good indication as to how long. Maybe it might even be that they come out ahead of him. It might be the undercut he's going to get to work. It might be the overcut that's going to work for the other guys. It's going to be interesting to see how this shapes up. And that's the beauty of having that extra pit stop in there. Yes, there is battle packs forming and gaps starting to form elsewhere and things like that. But
we've just seen Tomlinson absolutely yeet the sausage curbs coming into the first corner, defending himself from Thomas Allen. Absolute freeway battle here. I think the Ferrari's trying to get his revenge. I think he might be a backmarker. I can't really tell. Oh wait, no, he's definitely not.
No, Tomlinson's ahead on track. He's just trying his damnedest to not let that move happen, isn't he? And he's trying all sorts of different methods of defence, which is interesting to see. I actually did manage to get a replay of what you just mentioned there. We just about managed to catch it. So yeah, deep into the first apex of Tamburello, and just jumped over those sausage curbs, and in an almost was it Daniel Ricciardo from Formula 1 maybe last year? I think he did something similar.
We've just seen the oh yes, exactly that. We've just seen the 623 of the McLaren of Houghton spin out again.
Yeah, not
to put him under pressure, but
not going his way at the moment, is it? Unfortunately for that man, the 623 McLaren, like you say. Still a load of time left though. There's still plenty of opportunity. Yeah, exactly.
Race.
Got to keep it clean, keep it tidy. There's every possibility you can get some positions back, and I'm sure that's what he'll be thinking. With 39, or well, let's call it 40 minutes left to go. So we're just 5 minutes off the halfway point. So I think you're right. I think you said it before, Alex. I think we're going to start to see a lot of people take those pit stops. essentially just to try and split the race in half.
Alan slowly working his way up the leaderboard, about to take the position of P12 off Tomlinson. Oh, going onto the grass, not leaving any space, going into the corner. Still against the... No!
Oh, dear.
We've seen a pit maneuver, and Mark's not going to be happy with that.
I mean, that did seem a little bit rough and ready from Tomlinson there. What is it? All the time you have to leave the space. This is the iconic phrase, and I felt like Alan had, despite some of the more aggressive moves he's made so far, I think he'd entitled himself to some space there.
Exactly.
Admittedly, maybe he didn't need to cut across as early as he did. Probably could have avoided just by holding his line into the braking zone, but he definitely entitled himself to some space going down that straight, and Tomlinson offered him nothing.
Luckily, the runoff area into that just is so large that damage shouldn't be an issue there. But you can see on the back of Alan's car, he has a bit of damage. But it's on the back of the car, especially for the Aston Martin, where it doesn't really matter. So it should be all fine.
Absolutely, yeah. Alan,
he's not going to be happy with that.
He's been in the wars, as a few people, to be fair. And Jimbo Jet in the chat making a very good point about the incident which caused Tomlinson to jump over those curbs. It was to do with a little bit of contact, I think, that pushed Tomlinson deep onto the closest curb. So not necessarily him going deep like I mentioned. So thank you for the correction on that one. The beauty of you guys being able to rewind the stream at any point just to check to make sure I'm telling the truth. So thanks for correcting me on that one. Andy Driscoll all over the back of Tomlinson, but goes a little bit wide out of the final Ravazza, and that's going to completely negate any form of advantage he had coming onto the back to start finish straight, because as you can see, that's lost him so much time. It's actually put him back into the clutches of Lisa Louise as a result, who is, as you rightly mentioned, working her way back up the field a little bit now. Obviously, she's got the unfortunate of needing to do a pit stop, hasn't she? Still, obviously, having that drive through already. Tomlinson goes a little bit deep there. Compromises the exit at Tamburello.
Louise got to go 3 wide.
Oh, don't do this, boys and girls. This is going to end badly. It's going to end in tears. Lisa Louise going to go up the inside. Oh, little bit of a hip check. Oh, dearie me. I mean,
it ends into, well, for Louise, she's just clear now.
I think we all kind of saw that coming, didn't we? I mean, to be fair, there was a point in that where I thought it wasn't going to happen. I thought they were all going to get through it relatively cleanly, especially when Louise and Driscoll both managed to get past Tomlinson before the braking zone into the Villeneuve chicane. Unfortunately, though, didn't work out that way. A little bit of contact. And as a result, Driscoll has kept the position. It looks like Louise is still... In fact, no, sorry, Louise has taken the move. Tomlinson and Driscoll have dropped back as a result. So all sorts to unpack there.
We were going to see Louise starting to be a bit impatient, because I did notice that Louise was behind of Tomlinson for like 3 laps, and at that point I would start getting impatient and start trying to put more pressure on them. And we have seen 53. Oh, is he just in the pit? Yes, he is just in the pit. I saw a yellow flag come up and I thought there was some spinning.
Well, we have got a contact registered with... Oh, in fact, that is... Let's have a look at the 696 to 53. It's gone the replay. Going up into... I think that is the Tozer hairpin. Oh, yeah, it just looks like... Yeah, it just looks like the 696 of Vaguna just got a little bit oversteery coming out of Tozer and just went into the side of the 53 machine. I can't see that it is. Yeah. Oh, that is Tomlinson as well. So Tomlinson in the wars. That happened within a corner of the other instance. So... not going his way at the moment. He's now, yeah, like you say, has now pitted. He's going to serve that mandatory stop at pretty much on the nose of half distance. So bit of work for him to do now, because of course he's probably going to have to fix a little bit of damage as well, because those times not looking particularly pretty at the moment. He's actually been a little bit off the pace. You see Martin Thorpe, oh no, this is Thomas Allen coming past him. This is actually a battle for race position, which is a bit of a weird one when it's a GT3 and a GT4 halfway through a 70-minute race, but shows you how unfortunate some of these cars have been, and it shows you that Thorpe and Pixley they've kind of just kept themselves clean, haven't they, to an extent?
I mean, knowing they're ahead of some GT3s, so at that point you know you've done something right.
Exactly. There's only one of them left behind him now, and that is Adam Sasha, who is currently propping up the rest of the grid. Of course, he's the one who's been in incidents. He served his pit stop and served a drive-through penalty as well. So bit of work to do for him. 1 lap less than everybody else on the grid at the moment. So
just reaching the halfway mark through the race, we just did see the McLaren 193 of the Sky Tempest race lift off a lot to keep Pixley ahead of position of the 720S Evo.
interesting.
No, he's gone.
Not anymore. Yeah, going past him now, as you can see on Australia. Again, they're two people. I know they'll be in the general chat, voice chat that we've got in this Discord, so they'll probably be nattering away. And I think that's probably one of those where I think Nick has probably said, like, look, Rich, I'm not going to go for it now. So you're leading your class. I need to get some time back. Let's not battle too much. I'll just kind of hang fire behind you. I can actually see, so Brooker, Cooper, Melvin, Knott, Jones, Louise, Driscoll, all pitting at the moment. So they're all serving their mandatory pit stops. There's going to be a lot of change as we go through there. This is going to be the interesting one to see where Terry Driscoll comes out in relation to those guys. There's Mark Cooper. There is Terry Driscoll. So Driscoll's lost a bit of time, it looks like there. Mark Cooper's only about, let's see, he's about 2 or 3 seconds behind Driscoll, who was, of course, in P4 when the stop started. As you see, Raddenbury and Bacheri now in the pits as well. They're the ones we need to keep an eye on, aren't they, Alex? Because they're, of course, the ones that were on par with Driscoll when he made his pit stop. So we'll see where they come out in relation to the number 820 BMW, who is coming up the hill towards Piratella at the moment.
There's around 28-second gap. If they nail the pit stop, Driscoll will still be ahead of them. In theory, that is, because around the pit stop, a drive-through is around 30 seconds, aren't you? Plus, if they're doing tyres, that's another 30 seconds, which adds up to a minute. And then obviously the fuel on top of that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it plays out for sure. We can see Raddenbury and Bellozzo, excuse me, all in the pit lane at the moment. Now, Bellozzo not necessarily involved in that battle at the top end of the grid, but doing a fantastic job in holding on to that.
Driscoll coming into the
moment.
final corner now. This is going to be quite close between Mark just pulling out of pit lane now, where Driscoll is just pulling on to the final straight.
It's going to be very close indeed. In fact, it looks like Raddenbury's going to have it with a little bit of time to spare by the looks of it. Bacheri, not so much, I don't think. In fact, we see a little Porsche go past Aston Martin. There's Driscoll just coming past the start-finish line at the moment. So it's going to be close going into the first corner between these two. As there you go, Driscoll, look at the inside. That's an opportunistic move if ever I've seen one. Fantastic work from Driscoll there. I think he probably knew that he had to make that move pretty sharpish. Raddenbury, though, as it stands, I think that's a net P3 for that man.
Let's not jinx anything just yet.
Yeah, you never know.
We've got another stop and go penalty for Balozzello.
Yeah, Bellozzo, yeah. Speeding in the pit lane, you assume?
Yeah, just coming out of pits.
Not being live stewarded this one, so yeah, just come out of the pit lane. Must have been caught speeding, presumably on the entry, because that entry is quite a fast entry into the pit lane here at Imola, isn't it? So it can be one of those, if you brake even the slightest bit too late, so you want to try and minimise the time you're slow as possible, don't you? But you got to be careful. There is a balance to be found in that pit lane entry.
100%. Ever thought about doing an Imola endurance race, aren't you?
I did one last year. So I did one. It was a 9-hour, I think. It is good. It's one of those where, like we've said already before, because there's such a high chance of you getting a track limit warning, it can be quite a stressful race because you get a track limit warning quite early and then you're just stressing for the entirety of the next 8 hours if you got it in the first stint. It is a good one to do though.
Gregorelli also just got, sorry to interrupt again,
No.
Gregorelli just also got a speeding in the pit lane penalty as with Bellozzo as well.
Yeah, 2 pit lane penalties for these two. No, it's a good. It certainly makes a change from your Spa, your Nürburgring, that sort of thing. It's a different, even your Monzas to a certain extent. Like it does. It's quite a nice change to have something a little bit different rather than just doing the same thing over and over again. Doing an 8-hour at Spa again, all that sort of stuff. So it is nice to mix it up, and Imola's a good choice for that, I think.
Speaking of Spa, you have a special race coming up with Positive Perception.
We do indeed. I know you guys are going to be partaking in it as well. So yeah, very exciting that we 2nd of September. So we've got the inaugural Spa 24-hour as the kind of the culmination of the mini endurance series we've done so far in 2023. So we did the 6 hours of Watkins Glen back in March. We were going to do the 10 hours Suzuka, but unfortunately, due to troubles beyond our control, we had to sadly have to postpone that one indefinitely. But yeah, we do have the 24 hours of Spa, which is in partnership with the charity Simba, which is a charity very close to a number of people's hearts here at the admin team over at Positive Perception, and some of those who we're very close to as well, for a multitude of reasons. So yeah, very excited to be doing that. We're actually very close to the £1,000 target we set ourselves before the race even started, which is an amazing thing to see. But yeah, full live broadcast. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to commentate for the full 24 hours because I think I might collapse. But yeah, really excited for that one. 2nd of September. If you haven't joined up so far and you're interested, make sure you get yourself onto the SimGrid link that we've got. If you type in !racing in the chat, or in fact !sign up, sorry, in the chat, you'll see them cycling around bottom left of the screen. Type that into the chat, get yourself on SimGrid, get yourself signed up, get yourself ready for what it's going to be. Yeah, it's the big one. I think if it's a 24-hour, Spa does feel like the standard one to go to, doesn't it?
You've set it to 80 cars, I've seen, and I kind of hope there isn't 80 cars, because that will be absolutely chaos.
Nah, there won't be 80 cars. You know how these things go. I think we're looking for 40 would be a good kind of position to be in. I can't honestly remember how many we've had sign up so far. I'd have to check the list. In fact, I could probably check it.
We've had around 20, I've roughly
seen. I think there's about 20 or so at the moment. So let's have a look at the...
Hoping to get 3 or 4 teams signed up, but just in the managing process and getting a livery done. So
yeah, there's 19 signed up at the moment, so we've still got a little bit of work to do to bring that up. Of course, we've still got just under 3 months, or so I say just over 2 months, probably an easy way to describe it, to go for that one, as we're currently seeing a lot of stop-go penalties being awarded to people. Palazzo's still got one, Bro's now got one, Kumiski's got one, and Gregorelli is currently in the process of serving his. I think quite a few people maybe either didn't expect a pit stop for this race, or they haven't practiced it properly.
It's coming out of the pit lane, so I'm presuming, isn't there 2 pit lines? I'm presuming they're getting confused with them, unless the pit boards are gone.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I know that it doesn't give them the penalty until they exit the pit lane, and normally it's one of those, isn't it? I think I've done it many times before, and you know that you're going to get the penalty because you know you've sped into the pit lane, and you kind of just have to do that whole thing. You drive through the pit lane, and you're like, great, now I've got to do a 30-second pit stop, knowing I'm going to get a penalty when I leave the pit lane. You just think, oh, for goodness sake, it just drives you mad.
Gray has now came into pit to do his pit stop, having a 22-second gap over Mark in P2.
Yeah, very strong display from John Gray as it stands. Yeah, massive gap at the front. Mark Neutlings is going to carry on by the looks of it, even if it just means to get a little bit of time out in front of this race. And I appreciate that. I think that's a fair thing to do. And again, Mark is one of those people, I've seen him do it many times, where he'll be able to push a car as far as it can go. He's very good in his tyres. He can save fuel if he needs to as well. I mean, you don't really need to save too much fuel in this one. You could probably... you wouldn't, but you could brim it the whole way through, I think, if you were clever enough with the fuel saving. So it's not unsurprising to see him continuing on a little bit longer than we would normally see someone do that.
Obviously, for the new people, there is a prize up for both GT3 and GT4 of a free livery from the Posper people themselves. Obviously, if you don't win, though, just buy one anyway. Just make their life hell.
Absolutely, we don't mind. We wouldn't have offered it if we weren't going to come through on the promise. And the good thing is it's for any sim as well. So ACC, AC, iRacing, RF2.
Yes, I'm not going to that game ever again.
No, I don't mind it. Like, I kind of wish they'd picked another one for the BTCC mods to go on to, because they look really cool.
Same.
But I just don't want to spend that much money on it. But
And Le Mans and
Le
IndyCar.
Mans as well. Although I have been reading a little bit about the old Le Mans game that they're bringing out at the end of the season, end of the year.
It's just a reskinned R-Factor 2. I'm not expecting much.
Hopefully it's better than that. That's my hope and expectation. We'll see. It's one of those, isn't it? I think it's very difficult to tell until you've actually had a proper chance to see it. But it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, RF2 always struggle with liveries on it. It's always been really fiddly from our end. I don't know why. We still offer them, we still do them, but comes with the caveat of give us more time. It's very difficult to do.
Yeah, I just tried. I got really lazy and I thought the BMW M4 GT3 ACC one would work in R-Factor 2. I gave up after 15 minutes.
It's probably a very smart move in the
Well,
long
thank
run.
you.
So what we've got 25 minutes left in this one. So John Gray, John Gray's second at the moment. Martin Whitting's is now in the pit lane, so he is serving his pit stop. So,
but 52-second gap. That's interesting actually, because unless he gets his pit stop right, as I've said before, he might just get away with it.
Well, there was a 22.
No.
There was a 22-second gap before, wasn't there? And I can't see from the track map that Neutings is moving yet, so I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There's John Gray just coming across the start-finish line now, and there's your change for the lead. And I don't even think. Yeah, Neutings is now moving. So the one we need to keep an eye out for here, I suppose, is Roddenberry. Now he's coming down towards the Ravatsas at the moment. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near Neutings as they come out, but.
Miski's also just got a drive-through for track limits once again.
Oh, stewards are handing out penalties like nobody's business. You love to see it. So Neutlings, I believe, that's him just come out of the pit lane. Yeah, so he's got probably, what, about 8-9 seconds, I would think, ahead of
very close.
Roddenberry behind. But it's always one of those things, isn't it? I mean, he's got Alan behind him, because Alan's a couple of laps down, but still might want to make that move, might be a little bit impatient, might get in the way of Neutlings a little bit, might kind of hamper in the mirrors. The gap's already down to 7.5 seconds, so potentially a chance for Roddenberry to get even further up the grid.
I just saw a Ferrari in the dirt. I don't know if you saw that, but I did just see a Ferrari of, I think it was Driscoll. I don't know, but it might have been Tomlinson in the dirt.
Okay.
So it's just something to keep on, I guess.
I can see a yellow flag on the start-finish straight, but that appears to be Comiskey, who is...
In
For
the
some
pit.
reason, I don't even think he's in the pits. I think he's just on the entry to the pit lane, which is a little bit of an odd one. We look further back. We've got Terry Driscoll, who's dropped down a couple of positions after the pit stop phase. He's got
Run out of fuel.
Possibly. It's a possibility for sure.
No,
yeah,
he's in his pit box.
Oh.
But no, he. Oh, I think he's trying to do his pit stop, but he has a drive-through, so he can't do it.
Oh no. Does he run out of fuel?
Oh no.
Oh, what a nightmare.
That's his race over, it looks like.
Oh, sad times. It's not what you want to see, but these things can happen. Unfortunately, happens at the worst of times.
Pixley, though, gathering, I want to say a 20-second gap. I think I'm a bit delayed.
Yeah.
But
No,
20
yeah,
seconds.
Right. 20 seconds, yeah.
That's mental. Especially in a GT4 where times take a... 20 seconds. Oh, gosh, I can't speak. I'm sorry. 20 seconds in a GT4 is probably equivalent to maybe 40-ish seconds in a GT3 just by pace. I know that sounds odd, but in my head it works.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. As we see, Boccheri's going to try and make the move. Is he going into Tamburello? Is he going to go up the inside late on the brakes? Bit too late, maybe. What? No, what's the camera doing? The race directors have taken this away. Oh, a bit of contact between the two of them. Driscoll just shifted wide a little bit there. We're going to go back 15 seconds and just see this happen again. You could just see going into the first corner, Boccheri brakes very late. I'd argue too late because he's hit the apex but gone very wide, hit the sausage curbs on the second apex there, and then just gone a little bit wide and nudged Driscoll out wide as a result. Has elected to keep the position, which is an interesting one. And as a result, it's actually dropped Driscoll back behind Mark Cooper as well. So Mark Cooper gaining a position. In the meantime, thank you Jimbo Jet for subscribing to the channel. Much appreciated, my good sir. Lovely to have you as part of the crazy community. It's a shame you couldn't race tonight, but hopefully you've signed up to the championships that are starting in a week and a half's time, so we can see you on the grid again and hopefully get you some time on track with us as well. Always very exciting.
If this is the grid so far that will stay for the rest of the race, I reckon Roddenberry should definitely be proud of himself. Has he pitted yet?
Yeah, I think everyone's pitted now. I mean, I'm looking at the timing tower. It looks to me like everyone has pitted, and I can see now that the 35 car, sorry, his name escapes me, Comiskey, I think it was, who was the one who was, like you say, kind of stranded in pit lane. He's actually retired, so he's disconnected from the server, which is understandable because, again, if you can't go anywhere, then like, what else is there to do? Yeah, exactly. You got to hope that someone comes in and gives you a nudge, but I don't think it would work, would it? Because so you're in the pit lane, you ghost, so.
Oh, yeah.
Sad times.
But to be honest, I prefer ghosted pit lanes, otherwise it would be a nightmare in public lobbies.
100%. 100%. You regret saying that, says Jimbo. No, everyone is welcome. The more the merrier. I always find. Welcome to join us on track, join us in the comms box, do whatever. You're welcome wherever you choose to go. As Balozzo there looking at the inside of Shooten in the 623. I think that is Shooten. Yeah, he's shooting in the 623 McLaren. A little bit of a coming together between them as they go through the Villeneuve chicane. It was a bit clumsy. I felt a bit of a racing incident. I don't think there was much wrong with either of them did. Just unfortunate that Balozzo's come off worse. I mean, that's one of those. I think we've all seen it, haven't we? Where you find that you get hit in ACC and then the most random eventuality happens. Like you get hit side by side and you get spun off. You're like, well, that wouldn't happen. Like the physics can be a little bit weird sometimes, I feel.
Seeing how Alan's back in 14th, if he didn't have those two very unfortunate crashes, I reckon he would be quite close to the top. I would say he would definitely be either top 10 or top 5.
He's certainly got the pace. So he's I think he's about 10th quickest, or 9th or 10th quickest. So he's definitely up there. I think, again, it comes back to what we said. It is a lot about consistency in these races as much as anything else. Steezy's joined in the chat. It's Matt Comiskey had to retire after stop and go to drive through. Mate, I'm so sorry. I think we saw that. We saw you kind of stuck in pit lane. We assumed you'd run out of fuel or something. So very unfortunate. Lovely to have you there, and hopefully, I said to everyone else already who's been racing with us so far and in the chat and all that sort of fun stuff. If you haven't done, make sure you signed up for either the GT4 and or the GT3 championships that we're doing in the next couple of weeks as well, because yeah, be more than welcome to come in. I can promise you the GT4s will be a lot busier than they are this evening. It's probably just because everyone wants to pick a GT3 car as Balozzo again comes together with Shooten, and again there's contact. Balozzo has to go
slow.
wide.
Oh, Balozzo's not had the best race either, bless him.
I think he had a good start to the race, didn't he? I think he's got caught up in a bit of a... I wouldn't say he's been caught up in an incident huge about this time around, but I think he's been caught up in something that has eventually caused him... He's just been caught up in the wrong kind of action. I've commentated and been privy to his races quite a few times. He tends to be a pretty clean driver. He tends to keep himself out of trouble quite frequently. And the thing is, I think he's clearly got the pace on Shooten. It's just trying to find the way around him. He's already back up within half a second of him, so...
This track, even though there's a lot of straights, it can be very difficult to overtake. Very difficult. And we've got another drive-through, but and it's Balozzo again.
Oh, Balozzo's got the drive-through penalty. What a shame. That is so unfortunate, as he's all over the back of Shooten again. It's he just can't. He's almost glued to the back of that McLaren 720. As last easy racing was good and clean though, good grid. It's been good racing so far. To be fair, I think there's a few bits we would always want to see a little bit improved, but. I think generally as a whole, especially when you have multi-class and stuff like this, if you can get for a race with only maybe 1 or 2 incidents between classes of cars and things like that, then I think you've done pretty well.
What would have been interesting was the last 10 minutes of rain. That would have been interesting.
I don't think Mark has set any rain to come up, unfortunately, but yeah, I totally agree. They don't normally get a lot of rain in the past per service. I don't know why. It's almost like, you know how F1 is, it's almost like a microclimate. I feel like it's
Mark,
rains as soon as the race is finished.
Mark should change that immediately. That would be so good. Oh, and Balozzo giving, I want to say that is, yeah, the 623, another bump draft.
Yeah, very, very close between the two of them at the moment. It is the closest battle on track at the moment. These guys are separated by pretty much a piece of A4 paper at the moment as Balozzo looks around the outside. Into Tozer, doesn't manage to get it done on this occasion. Speaking of, just going back to Mark Roddenberry, it's closing the gap to Mark Neutelings in P2 at the moment. It's back down to 5.6 seconds with 15 minutes left to go in this one. So, potential, you might think that might be a battle towards the back end of this. I'm a bit gutted this battle's going to have to end when Balozzo serves the drive through, to be honest, because I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
The one thing that's risky,
he's got such a good run there, didn't he?
Yeah. One thing that we saw what Balozzo did was the bump draft, which can be very risky in this game. Oh, that was tight through there. Oh. I can't even say what just happened there.
I don't know if there was contact between them.
I want to say it was netcodes.
It didn't look like there was, but...
I think what happened was...
Oh, there was a little bit.
623 got a bit of oversteer. Balotto reacted because he thought he was probably going to spin out, so he went to the right, but he yanked his steering too much and he just got an oversteer moment. Just lost the grip.
Not ideal. Unlucky for them. Again, Balotto's he's going to have to serve the drive-through penalty on the next lap now anyway. He's got less than a lap sent to serve that one. If you look a bit further at the grid, we've got Terry Driscoll still behind Mark Cooper. They've dropped back off the back of Valentino Buccieri since the Italian made his move on the 820 car BMW that you can see on your screen at the moment. Mark Roddenberry still again starting to claw back a bit of time. He gained a second and a half on that last lap. So Neutling's just starting to show a few cracks here and there potentially.
I think my timing board's wrong because Balotto's gone again and he's spun for real. Oh, that's a shame. But I think my timing board's wrong because it says Thorpe is now 3 laps behind Pixley.
Yeah, I think you've got a dodgy timing screen there, my friend.
Brilliant.
I've just gone back and seen Balotto's little incident there. He was unfortunate because he got caught up right behind Pixley as he went through the Villeneuve chicane as well, and just caught the sausage curbs. And yeah, not really a huge amount you could have done. It's
At this rate, I think Gray and Pixley has their liveries coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I can't remember. Mark might have to confirm this after the stream, but I can't remember if it was a random person who completes the race from each class, or whether it was the winner. I'm not entirely sure. Pixley doesn't need liveries; he has them in supply from someone else anyway. So maybe he'll just decide he doesn't want it. Maybe he'll give it to someone else instead, which would be very nice. I think we'll see. We shall see. Mark Cooper still under a bit of pressure from Terry Driscoll. He's 0.2 of a second to the good at the moment. Is Driscoll going to look up the inside? Gets alongside into Tambiano. Really nice move there from Driscoll. That is fantastically well worked by the number 820 machine. Just gets up the inside. It looked like he wasn't necessarily going to do it. I think he maybe did that classic move, you know, when you put the brake on, you lift off a little bit just to kind of ease it off and just keep that speed going into the corner. Whatever he did, it worked, and it was a lovely move.
Indeed. I think my game is very broken. Because now the tyre marks are on the cars. It's like the Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Monza all over again.
Oh my goodness, that is not ideal. I think you need to go to Pit Wall Live and go check the live timings from there. And then we'll hopefully fix this before the next time you come and join us, so you can actually see what I can see, which would be a lovely thing to have. Very
not
annoying
being
decided not to work.
The most smoothest of processes today, is it?
It hasn't been, no. It's all falling back off of this trouble that we had in the last one, which is very annoying. So this is why we do these socials, because it gives us a chance to test run these things and make sure that everything's working properly. So we've got a couple of weeks now to figure it all out, make sure it's all working, get it all in play.
Oh, Alan's off again, and Mark Roddenberry just getting past him just before he rejoins. Oh, and we've got a Ferrari off. A white Ferrari. I don't know who it is, though.
Can't see anyone off on my side at the moment. I could be wrong.
It was just a run-off, but he was off.
Just lost another driver as well. Looks like another retirement in the race. Can't see who it is.
That would be, I want to say, Tomlinson. Tomlinson's gone.
Ah, good shout. Good shout. Oh, no, it's not. No, Thomas is still there. I can see him on the screen. I'm going to try and see if I can check Pitwalk. Sometimes that leaves the names on there a little bit longer, so I'll see if we can spy who. As always, Liam Knott goes very, very much over the curbs into the Tamburello chicane, and as a result, going to lose a little bit of time there himself, which is not ideal, but it looks like he's got a bit of time behind him anyway.
Span out just again. Oh, nearly hitting the BMW M4. Oh, I don't know who that Ferrari is, but it's obviously not been his day today. The white Ferrari. I don't know who it is, though. Oh, it's Hoffman. And Louise being given another drive-through penalty while Hoffman decides he wants to spin out.
Oh dear, it's not ideal. I've just noticed, my apologies everybody, but I've just noticed the live timing isn't actually working. It's decided it doesn't want to work. Looks like it needs an update, which we'll have to do separately. Again, if things are going to go wrong, they're all going to go wrong, it seems like, which is always good fun.
At least it's during the social.
Exactly. This is why we do them. This is why we do them.
How many cars are we expecting for the GT4 League?
For the GT4 League, I can give you some numbers if you bear with me. I think we've got about 29 signed up at the moment. Let's have a look-see. 19, sorry, wrong number in front of it. 19 signed up at the moment, 14 in the AM class, 5 in the Pro, and then for the GT3 season, we've got 35 of the 49
Brilliant.
spots
Oh,
in there at the
Hoffman
moment,
just took the curb wrong and he managed to save it, but I think his tyres are dead.
Yeah,
He's now
looks
got
like
rectangular tyres.
getting into the final 10 minutes of it, looks like people are just starting to struggle a little bit, doesn't it? Starting to see a few mistakes here and there. Roddenberry's still 5.7 seconds back, so he's lost a little bit of time. Looks like Neutlings has managed to kind of pull himself back together. I mean, no one has touched John Gray at all in this race. I mean, he has been incredibly quick so far. He's got, what, 34 and a bit second gap as we come into the final 9 minutes of this race. It's been a good one, though. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been
That's been amazing.
been a good hour so far. We've got 10 minutes left, still plenty of chance for things to change, and I think this is kind of the point, do you think, where people maybe just start to make a move they might not have done in the first half an hour, because there's potential. There could be some, I know there's not points on offer, but there's always a bit of potential for an extra position to be made, which is always a nice feeling, even when it's a pre-season social event.
What people just don't appreciate enough is QNOS is just default liveries. I'm on board with Cooper right now with his garage 59 or 56. I get them wrong every time. But in the Golf McLaren 720S, and it looks beautiful, especially with all the lineups and stuff, and the attention to detail they've done is brilliant.
Yeah, 100%. I know a few of the people who do the livery designs for Kunos, and they just never miss. It's always good. It's one of those things that would be lovely to be involved in. Sadly, I don't do anywhere near enough for ACC to get into that level, but yeah, it's quite a lovely thing to do.
Ben Brown also just making his appearance in Kunos's game with his liveries for the Alpine Esports Series.
He is. I think he did some of the McLaren ones as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. He did the Logitech G Challenge, and he also did the Alpine Esports Series.
Yeah, again, another person who is outstanding in his field is Ben Brown. I've got a lot of time for him and a lot of time for his liveries as well. Driven with us a few times as well.
Yeah, he did the, was it the GT4 League 2 months ago or something like that?
Yes, I think, the one I remember we did GT3 Season 6. Yeah, Season 6 I think was the first one we officially broadcasted the whole thing for. Remember he did a fantastic move on someone around the outside of Stowe at Silverstone. Really, really ballsy move. Just went right around the outside of them and got the move done into Vale rather. So yeah, he's good on the track and good in the design booth as well, which is always good. Now Terry Driscoll has managed to get himself back past Mark Cooper. So there's been a switch of position for P6. Still 7 seconds up the road to Picheri, so don't think there's going to be a huge amount of time for them to get a position done further up the field. As we see Hoffman causing a yellow flag, he's going slowly in the little mini straight between Tamburello and Villeneuve.
Cooper's not going to make it easy though for Driscoll to get clear, so I reckon we're going to see, as what we call it, mirror torture coming up very soon.
Mark's one of those people. He is massively improved in the last kind of year or so, because I'm sure he won't mind me saying he was very much in our AM category when he kicked things off, but he's massively improved his pace, and I think he's found that obviously practice makes perfect, but the more time he puts in, the more he benefits from it. And it's really good to see that kind of paying dividends nowadays. Really, really pleased for him.
Great, just getting past Pixley.
Yeah, another battle on track at the moment is Bro on the back of Shooten. The Shooten he's basically had someone behind him the entire way through this race, it feels like. Every time the cameras have gone to him, someone's been on the back of him trying to make a move, which is never a bad thing for us. Not necessarily a good thing for him. I don't think he'd want to have someone hounding him the entire race, but it looks like Bro's going to try and make a move.
Oh.
Shapes to the inside, goes at the inside, lovely move.
Lovely move. Oh, he's got to go wide though, and Grutum goes past him once again.
Yeah, not ideal. It's one of those. It's happened to a lot of people, hasn't it? They've maybe just not quite judged the braking point. I'm not sure whether the braking marker boards have been knocked down on the left, on the right hand side. Of course, we've seen a few people on the grass so far. I don't know whether that's made an impact on it, but a lot of people missing that apex for the first apex of Tamburello throughout this race, which is.
I think this might do it. Yeah.
But...
What I can see is probably happening in Bro's mind is it's coming into the last 5 minutes of the race. He wants this move done. He's panicking now, and he's just getting very impatient, which is the worst thing you can do when it comes to taking position. He's got to go max, 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 to the point where he's got to make crucial mistakes and lose so much time and not gain that position. He just needs to put a load of pressure on him, and hopefully Scruton makes a mistake. Well, hopefully for Bro, but for Scruton, no.
He'll want to try and keep it very nice and clean. Question in from Jimbo in the chat. So, does ping affect racing in any way for for both the driver individually and for others on the grid? Yeah, the answer is yes.
Netcode is basically the contact patch of where the car is for the driver and the other grid. The contact patch is usually, depending on where ping is, it's not that bad. But if you've seen an iRacing, it can be horrendous because you're driving with international drivers, and it could be maybe half a foot, and you're like hitting the car with netcode.
Yeah, I think the netcode in ACC isn't that bad. So yeah, like Alex said there, the netcode essentially it's where your car is, and it's where your internet connection kind of presents the other car near you. So if we can see these guys on the helicam at the moment, so we've got Bro shooting, like essentially. Obviously, we can see them in a certain way. Obviously, the ping is centralized to me, so it depends on where they are. However, it might be if he had a really bad ping, you see Bro on the inside, shooting could be out there, and he sees him like that, but he's not. It's an interesting way of doing it, but most of the time, I think, yeah, to be fair, it largely depends on where the server's hosted as well. So if the server's hosted in Europe, like we are, then obviously everyone in Europe's going to have a better ping than someone who's based out in Australia, for example. So it does have a big impact. It doesn't as much, I don't feel, on broadcast, as we see Sasha and I think that's Lisa Louise both going wide, both kind of followed the same line into the two Ravatzes there, which is interesting to see.
Oh, we do see Driscoll. Wait, who's that? I want to say that's... Oh, he's the green... Is it Braceri?
Braceri's that green for... Oh, goodness me, I've just seen him coming out. Oh, my word.
Oh, we've got Crasher and Braceri's in the wall with Hoffman. I don't know who caused that. That just all happened so quickly. Oh, and then we see Braceri going, reversing onto track. Last 2 minutes of this race, and everything's going to chaos. He's done the
right thing there, not to start moving on the line. He could have braked and probably not reversed back onto the track. But it looks to me, I'm just looking back at the replay. So,
another contact between Braceri and I want to say that is the Porsche of. No, I don't know who that Porsche is, unfortunately.
No, I can't go back and see it. It just looked like 3 into 1 just wasn't going to go. I see what you mean. The Porsche of Sasha just going into the hairpin just gives him a bit of a nudge from behind, doesn't it? So Jimbo's going to be driving from the UAE. Very nice. Things, yeah. To be honest, like I say, ACC I think handles it better than something like iRacing, for example. It's very rare that I've ever seen a huge ping really impact something. You'll sometimes get an effect called rubber banding, where it looks like someone's getting closer and further away. So essentially they're kind of being stretched and let go on a rubber band. But to be honest, as long as you kind of keep aware of your surroundings, use your radar, etc., things like that, you tend to get away with it, I think. Especially on ACC. Like, I don't think I've ever been involved in a full-on netcode incident on ACC.
We can
iRacing, yes.
Yeah, definitely. But we can see, Bro, he got the move done with Scruton, but he is chasing after. I want to say that's.
It's Karayanis.
Yes, Karayanis. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names.
So I had to get Nick to tell me how to pronounce it, and I'm still not even 100% sure I'm doing it right.
There is a member that I dread to say his name. I've known him for quite a while, from George Morgan. His name's Costa, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his second name.
Hatsachianidu or something like that. I have seen it. I made a point of trying. Hold on, I've got it here somewhere. He's in the Hatsi Konstantinu is how you pronounce it.
Oh, big battle with Bro, and then not. It'll come to me soon. But Bro going in the inside, but making the move done is Sky Tempest car. Gonna try and make a move back with the rubber banding that he might get.
Yeah, It's good to see you. So coming into as we go through the last the last second, we've actually got a checker flag now. My apologies. So we're gonna have a look. We're gonna have a quick look around and just see what's going on with Bro. Oh, a bit of contact between him and Carianis there. Looks like Bro just kind of pushed him out of the way, which feels a little bit rude. Not the nicest thing in the world to do. Mark Raddenbury not looking like he's going to be able to get that move on Neutlings. He's a little bit further down. He seems to have dropped off a little bit, but all things aside, looks like he's potentially going to be on for a podium, assuming he keeps his final lap clean. The man on your screen, though, is the man who has been essentially untouchable, Alex. John Gray has been... I mean, he was what? He was 6 tenths quicker in qualifying, which is impressive enough as it is. He is 38 seconds ahead. He's led every lap bar the ones that he has not that he pit for. He's basically had the perfect race, hasn't he?
Exactly what I said for my prediction. So yeah, I just want to say you're wrong.
I know. Yes, I know. I did think something might jam.
But Alan has just gone a drive-through, which he won't serve, so we'll get. I think it's either a plus 30 seconds.
I think you're right. I think it's 30 seconds. But
that means he's got to drop down to. I want to say yes, 14th. He will drop down to. Louise just being in that bracket.
As there we go then. John Gray crosses the line, takes the win here in the pre-season social here at Imola for the Positive Perception, kind of curtain raiser, if you will. Martin Neutelings is looking like he's going to come through, just overtaking Pixie as they come out of the Grissini chicane. Decides to go for a little bit of grass tracking, just a bit of showmanship, you would think, as he goes down towards the final couple of corners. He is going to take a very impressive second place this evening. Fantastic display from the Flying Dutchman, the number 666 car. It's going to be Mark Raddenbury is going to come back. Let's just go back to Mark because I want to watch the stream back and I want to see him cross the line, doing that little sway as he crosses the line. There you go. Mark Neutelings comes through in second place there. Fantastic showing for him. Mark Raddenbury takes a podium. Does pos per boss man. He will be delighted with that as Jay Brooker comes home a couple of seconds adrift of him. Terry Driscoll will come through in P5 in the end, because Valentino Pacheri got caught up in that incident, of course, so lost the position. Liam Knott will come through in P6, Pacheri P7, Mark Cooper will finish P8, and Melvin will come through in P9. Bren Jones, Peter Phillips, Thomas Allen, Driscoll, Louise, Raguna, Bro, Shooten, Carianis, Pixley, round out your GT3 runners on the lead lap. Pixley takes the win in the GT4s ahead of Martin Thorpe, and then we've got Adam Sasha, Timon Carstens, Crispy Flanker, James Buchanan, Nadir Belozzo, Steve Tomlinson, and Hoffman rounding out the running cars.
Pixley had an amazing race, just like Gray had his perfect race. They both just had the best race they could do, with a 39-second gap between Pixley and Thorpe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing performance from him.
Fantastic display from those guys. Really, really good showing from everyone, to be fair. We had a few incidents here and there, which is, it's part of the course. You know these kind of things are going to happen. But however, I'm really, really particularly impressed with how everyone's kind of got on. And thank you to those of you who have stuck around in the chat as well. Jimbo Jet saying his ping being in the UAE is going to be his excuse for if he's ever caught up in any incidents. I'm sure there'll be none. Don't you worry.
I'm surprised there is actually that many leagues in the UAE, because I haven't seen many UAE or Asia leagues for ACC.
This is why I want to offer it to everyone. Everybody's
I've always
welcome.
thought it was a Europe dominant game, which it definitely is. You don't see many Americans playing it. You don't see many. It's just pretty much Europe. I've seen a few Russian people, but.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, like you say, it's very much heavy in obviously the UK. You've got Spain, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, kind of that Nordic sort of area. I've seen a few people doing it as well. So you definitely get a good spread. But yeah, it's nice to see sort of the lesser represented parts of the world coming onto it as well, and all the better to come and join us as well. Look, Alex, brings us to the end. Sadly, it's unfortunate that we have to say goodbye to everyone. Unless, actually, hold on a second. Mark is waiting in the interview waiting room. Let's bring him in. I'm sure he wants to have a natter. In fact, he's pulled himself in.
Hello.
He's pulled himself in because he's clearly so delighted with that result. I mean, you were cautious at the start. Oh, I'm not going to lose a position. You gained 3. You got a podium.
Yeah, I was cautious that opening lap, because obviously you got drivers around you. You don't know them. You know, you don't know where their strengths are. Have they warmed their tyres up? So I'm always cautious on opening a lap. But I really hope you caught the move on Jay on stream, because I'd set that up about 4 laps previous.
I don't think we did.
Oh,
My question is,
Go
me and Dave were thinking of it. Did you have some sort of alliance with Louise then through the first 15-ish minutes?
honestly, no. She was pushing me.
Really?
Yeah, since she's won more female races and all that, become AM champion of that, she's just become a ballistic driver. You know, absolutely insane pace from her. And I was genuinely worried that she was going to get past me as well.
She was certainly showing some very good pace, and like I say, it's unfortunate that happened. But yeah, that was what we thought, because obviously when you guys got past, I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been, in fact, it might have been Jay Brooker. I think you got past, wasn't it? And obviously Lisa came through quite soon after, and we were assuming that you were going to kind of work together a little bit and try and bridge the gap. I mean, it didn't make a difference in the end. I think the overcut, worked wonders for you, because you came out, you were a bit behind Driscoll, I think, before the pit stop phase, and you came out, and you had about 6 seconds on him. It was mad. Obviously, you can only assume he's been caught up in other battles, but yeah, podium. How does it feel?
Shocking. I mean, that doesn't happen very often for me, does it? Let's be honest. And especially in a GT3 car.
Yeah,
if you keep up that pace,
even
you've
rare.
got the championship in sight.
It'll fall apart, Alex. We know this. I'll sit down in about a week and try a different car, and
Oh yeah, that will do it.
that does happen for me. No, I've banned myself from looking at any other car for next season.
What about the Nissan?
No, honestly,
What about the Lexus?
I'd love to drive the Nissan again, but honestly, the BMW, it suits me. It works for me.
I mean, yeah, it clearly does, because
Yes.
yeah, P3, yeah, fair play. I was keeping an eye on it, because obviously you could see the gaps on the broadcast app and things like that, and you were closing up a little bit towards Mark Neutlings at the back end of it. Were you ever thinking there was a potential opportunity to get that move done? Or did you think, because he was obviously making a few mistakes, I think, and kind of losing time on odd laps here and there, but his pace seemed kind of around about there.
Yeah, there was a few issues for Mark with lap traffic. He was struggling a bit with a couple of them, and I seemed to catch them just at the right moment. But I don't think I was ever going to catch him by the end of the race. He just had more pace. My tyres were shot. I could feel them drifting out a bit. I'd gone up on my traction control and ABS already.
Did you change the tyres?
I did change tyres.
Oh.
I went full pit stop tyres and fuel.
Was it mandatory tyres or mandatory fuel?
Both.
Wow.
So that's why I did both.
Yeah, well, cheers for that.
I think if you're changing tyres, you might as well refuel as well, mightn't you? There's no point
Exactly.
filling it to the brim.
Yeah, at that point, definitely.
Look, I think we probably need to wrap up at some point, because otherwise people are going to end up needing to disappear. But one last thing before you do go and we wrap everything up.
We need to put the names in the hat.
Well, yeah, we do need to put the names in the hat. I mean, do you want to do that now? Can you
Let's do that now.
That quickly?
No.
That's the spirit.
What can we do? How can we do it? We can do it on race numbers.
Quick lift music.
Yeah. Random number picker. Right.
I just want to say that you decided to do this yourself.
Yeah, let's do it on finishing position. So how many did we have finishing?
27 finished.
27 finished.
Yeah.
27 finished. How many were there in GT 3?
20.
Yeah,
21, I think.
Yeah, 21. Wait,
unfortunately, ACC has crashed, so I can't see the
5.
results anymore. They've disappeared.
Useful.
Yeah. 19 it says for me.
19 doesn't seem enough.
Well,
hold on.
19.
Wait.
Maybe people
talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to upload the results really quickly.
I can see them. I've got them here. There was 19 finishes.
19 finishes. So we're going to go 1 to 9. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Who finished in position 5?
That would be
Terry Driscoll.
Terry Driscoll, congratulations.
He had a very good fight. He did.
He did, yeah.
And how many finished with GT4.
5 finished for GT4, although the server settings don't suggest that. I know that 5 finished.
5 finished. Right, 3, 2, 1. Who finished position 4?
Crisby Flanker.
Crispy Flanker, another fellow livery designer.
Oh, well, should we pick someone else then?
No, he'll probably donate it to someone. He did last time with one.
Lovely
There
stuff.
we go. Terry Driscoll and Crispy Flanker. Come and see me virtually, and we'll sort you out some freebies.
Well, we're assuming that they're watching the stream, which they will do, and we'll force them to watch it back. But we'll tag them in Discord as well. So
I will tag them in Discord. Yeah, absolutely.
This would be smart.
Lovely stuff. My final thing wasn't actually going to be that, so I'm going to now ask my final thing.
Go for it.
Remind us, for those of them less organised than me, although I can look at it myself, when are we kicking off the seasons for GT4 and GT3? Give us the dates. Give us the skinny.
GT3, which has changed for this season. We've gone back to basics. It's 60-minute races every single round, 1 pit stop at each round, which will vary between fuel and tyres, or fuel or tyres, or just fuel. But that all kicks off on the 6th of July, so not far away now. And then the GT4 season kicks off a week after that on the 13th. The GT4s have also seen a bit of a change. They're going for varied race distances for their one. Some of them have a pit stop. Just 2 of them have a pit stop. But yeah, first round, Brands Hatch, 45 minutes, no stop.
Lovely. And obviously, Chris Hodable and myself, and they've got a special guest for round 1, I believe, for the GT3 season. Will be in the broadcast booth, of course. Do you want to share whether we're going to stream the GT4 season, or have you not decided yet?
We will stream the GT4 season. I will stream the GT4 season.
I'm going to hold you to it. I'll have to send you all the assets and all that fun stuff as well.
Please do. We'll have a chat.
We will have a chat separately. Look, Mark, thank you for coming back and joining us. I was actually hoping you were going to drop back in, because, yeah, it's been nice to celebrate that podium. So fantastic work from you, my good friend, and very pleased for you finally seeing you get a good result and further cementing that pro class selection in the GT3 Championship, if I may say so myself.
I wondered when that would come in. No, just thank you to both of you guys for your hard efforts tonight as well. Absolutely, really appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, never a chore, especially when you get racing as good as we've had this evening. So
exactly,
in it.
Always good fun. Fantastic. Look, Mark, thank you for joining us. Alex, thank you for joining us as well. Have you enjoyed your first time in the commentary box with us at the Positive Perception Gang this evening? Has it been everything you expected it to be?
It was fun and scuffed. Just how I like it.
Exactly. No, it's been a great race. We thank you massively for joining us as well. It's always significantly appreciated. So thank you for coming in and joining us and helping out and keeping me company for the evening. Did a fantastic job. So look, guys, thank you for those of you, of course, as well. We can't continue doing this if no one watches this. So thank you to those of you who've tuned in and watched even just a part of it. If you're watching this back on the live stream, you're watching the VOD back, and thank you for tuning in and watching that as well. Probably those of you raced, so well done to those of you raced, and so on and so forth. But on behalf of Alex Newman and myself, David Wrestler, it's been an absolute pleasure to bring you the action for this pre-season social to kick off the GT3 and GT4 seasons respectively, as Mark mentioned before, on the 6th of July and the 13th of July, so 2 and 3 weeks away for those ones. So mark them in your calendars. If you haven't signed up already, get onto the SimGrid site and get yourself signed up on there as well. And we'll see you again very, very soon when we kick off the GT3 Championship at Valencia in 2 weeks' time. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Goodbye.